practically every one of the top 40 records being played on every radio station in the United States is a communication to the children to take a trip, to cop out, to groove. The psychedelic jackets on the record albums have their own hidden messages.
Special request. We don't want you to smoke genetically modified ganja. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensibilia, some call it lamb's bread, and some people call it ganja.
Welcome to another edition of the Adam Dunn Show. I am your host, Adam Dunn, and this is a special Thursday edition. We've never done a Thursday edition. This is first time because we have some cannabis royalty in the house today. And if you haven't read, I'm sure if you're here here because of this, because you would have never tuned in on the Adam Dunn Show on a Thursday. So we have in the studio live for the first time Mr. Chemdog himself, G, and PBud, the crew, the wrecking crew, the new wrecking crew for Colorado. This is, I'd have to say, from the East Coast to here, you guys are making waves. And, well, also you're here because this is like a pilgrimage, I guess. We got the Dead & Co. is on tour. Basically today has felt like I was on Shakedown Street. I had my friends rolling in, coming in, driving up from Albuquerque, making their stop here on their way to up there, and then you guys rolled in, so I'm feeling the energy already. So welcome to the studio, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Of course. And then also we got Stephen Chang hanging out with us, and we got Telly and Max, all from Incredibles, the Incredible crew. And we will be chatting with them. We talk about them every week on the show, obviously, because they are sponsoring my show. We'll be talking about the new, exciting collabs coming up with all these guys in the room and how that all came to play. Before we do that, though, we're just going to go back in time because that is like what it's all about when you get to with friends, especially old friends. And this is a pretty amazing journey. I think we've all been through. Did you ever think 27 years ago that you'd be back here doing something like you guys are doing now?
100% no.
Same answer.
Because we had a pretty exciting show. I think the first time we had you on the show, which was a while ago, I think that was about
I just called in that time.
Yeah, you weren't physically in the show, but that to me was one of the more exciting shows, just because I really felt like we were connecting the dots with some people. Because one of the things about cannabis, especially when you get to the, I'm not gonna say the top of the game, because there's hopefully the ceiling is empty, right? Because we want to keep going further. We don't want to only think nobody wants to rest on their laurels and think they've made it to the top, because there's a door. We got doorbell. We got doorbell action going on. Aha! There he is. We have Green Buffalo, Buffalo in the house. So when you guys were, like I said, let's go back to the original story, because like when we had you on the show the first time, one of the things was, I felt like I was breaking ground there, but then I've also seen it kind of, the story's been told a bunch, and it is the sort of the crux of the whole thing. So we might as well knock that out of the park in the beginning, because again, like I said, it's now, I think the thing we figured out on our show was it's not Chemdog, it's Chemdog. And that was the one thing that kind of cleared up. We had to clear that one up because JJ and his dog run was, we wanted to clear it all up. But on this, let's just kind of go back to 27 years ago when you guys first met, and I'll let you guys kind of narrate the story, because, it's a great one, because it's just a simple story, but the simple story has turned into such a major thing. So let's start with you, PBud, because you were definitely
I'll start.
The guy with the story.
Summer of 91, my buddy Joe B and I were just walking downtown, and a friend of ours just basically was like, I came across this bud called Dog Bud. Joe always had money, so we kind of sought him out, and Joe bought, I think, 1.5 pounds total. And
this is back when pounds weren't cheap either. This is not
cheap. No idea what he paid for it, but the amount of money we sold it for on Dead Tour, we definitely made our money back.
Yeah, no shit.
But back then, this this was called dog bud because what I was told is after you smoke it, you rolled over like a dog. It was so strong. We had never seen anything like it before. We were smoking a lot of PBud. We did have a hash plant strain that we were smoking that was phenomenal. That's still around, called the Puck. But this dog bud was, I had never seen anything like it. Just the strength of it, the smell.
And was the story that it was Oregon based or something like that, or was
Yeah, years later, we kind of, my friend Rob down in Crested Butte talked to the guy that brought it into town, and he thought it came from the Camas Valley in Oregon. So that's all I know.
It's funny because like a lot of guys in Oregon that I know, when you're talking to them, they start talking about strains. There's always like they think it started there, and you're like, wait a minute, no, that one definitely did not. You know what I mean? And it was like, because it seems like Oregon gets in its own little bubble sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
But go ahead. Yeah,
So we got it. It was right before Dead Tour. We took it. Most people in Crested Butte were really pissed that we took it on Dead Tour. I think we took a pound maybe, and kind of busted it out at the first night at Deer Creek. I still remember it. We just said kind bud. Back then, there was not a lot of weed. It kind of dried up in the summertime. Not too many people were going indoors, so all the outdoor kind of dried up by that time, and everyone was just waiting for the next fall harvest. 86 was absolutely insane. There was no weed, I remember, that summer at all.
Sure, that was like the height of the fucking
anti-weed
drug war situation. Yeah, because I graduated in '87, and I remember it's one of the reasons I left America. I was like, this place blows. There ain't nothing happening right now. It's like it was weak.
Good call. But and I wasn't even smoking anything that year. But we brought on Dead Tour, busted it out at the first night Deer Creek, just said kind bud, and we had a line of people within 15 minutes of 20 people. We sold just eighths, and Chemdog was one of the guys that we sold. Sold a couple too. I guess you can take it from there.
Yeah, I bought 2 eighths from him at $60 a pop.
Wow.
And I was like, damn, that's some expensive bud. But I was 18 and I just graduated high school, so that was my first summer tour, Dead Tour. And I bought the 2 eighths, and I luckily kept in touch, asked for their phone number. If I never did that, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now.
And then we left, I think, a half pound back in Crested Butte, so good thing we did.
And I got in touch with them at the end of tour, and they ended up getting some back to me, along with PBud. It was an ounce of chem that I got. There's a lot of mismatched stories of it. It was an ounce of chem that they sent back.
Right.
And that was $500. I was like, Jesus Christ, you guys are killing me. Jersey guys. And there was 13 seeds in that bag.
The fateful 13.
Faithful 13.
And I remember when we were talking last time that you guys did get males out of that and just didn't think about it.
I only got one that I remember.
Or got
it was
a
like
male.
the first 4, and I chucked it. I was 18 years old.
Right. No, and now in your mind it's like, that was the one. I mean,
Yeah.
it just at least could have been the one for at least to keep the line sort of in house without having to wait this long.
I know they kept the females at least. So
Yeah,
thank
and
God I did that.
and what was the success rate on those 13 Cs? Like, what was your keepers, and how many did you?
Well, the first 4 was the Chem Original Sister and the Original Chemdog, which is the 91 AK, the Skunk VA cut.
Right.
If you wanna.
The one that has been named many names, right? Yeah, for sure.
And then I stopped. And in 2000 I started more of the seeds, and that was when the Chem D came up. That's when the Chem D started.
Right.
And there was a couple others that weren't that good. And then I sent the last 4 to Joe B and PBud, and that's where the Chem 4 came, and the Chem 3, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, that's good. So you had a pretty good success rate on those 4.
Yeah.
Obviously.
For sure.
Like we're keeping them all at that point.
For sure.
So you remember when when Jason King's Canon Bible came out, right? And he had his description of the chem in there, and it was a really weird description that didn't really seem to jive with any other story that I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I had to get back and try to get in touch with him in that, but it really was it
yeah, all that bullshit about
Yeah.
growing chem, why, like because his whole story was that the plant didn't like to be grown organically. Like, it refused to do it. You know what I mean? It would be terrible when it was organic, but when it was grown with chemicals, which really gave it a bad rap, in my opinion. That's
Yeah.
like, that's not a good. First of all, it doesn't make any sense because most plants.
There was a lot of mismatched stuff in that.
Yeah,
for
well,
sure.
and then also, I mean, back in the day, were you really thinking about because a lot of it, I think we're all the same generation, and one of the things back then was, you kind of, as a guy who sold weed, you wanted people to know you're selling weed, but you actually didn't want you didn't want to leave too big of a trail, right? So you had to like kind of do something to separate yourself, but at the same time be a little bit selective and not label everything with branding and stuff. Like nowadays, it's the opposite. But in the day, did you ever? So with the chem moniker, let's say, not the plant itself, but was that before, after, during? How did that come up? How did that? Who's the one who mentioned that? Because you said you got the chem, but was he calling it chem before it came to you? Or?
Yeah, he told me.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Mike.
Basically, when we got the dog bud, I mean, we were young too. We were like, they must have pumped this full of so many chemicals because of the fuel smell. So we kind of started calling it chem weed. You got that chem weed.
Gotcha.
So
I
we kinda
combined
just
both.
combined 'em.
Right. So that came from
The first time I started the plants, I called it Chemdog because I was like,
Because probably we were calling it
you were calling it chem weed,
back
yeah,
in-
and
in Deer
you told me
Creek,
the
yeah.
story about the dog, so I had to roll around like
Right.
a dog, so I was like, let's call it Chemdog.
Well, there you go, and that's
So that's what that was my take on that.
Sure. As all the real stories are, they're as simple as it gets. You know what I mean? There's not too much crazy thought put
So many
behind.
people read into this stuff. It's crazy. They think that the seed that I never even got the seeds. There's so many stories out there. It's so funny.
Created strictly with chemicals.
Yeah.
There was no nature involved in this plant whatsoever. A couple beakers, straight off tour, decided to make weed. Fuck all this other chemicals. Fuck all these other drugs. Let's just make weed. You know what I mean? Let's see if we can crack that code. Another thing about, having a strain that's this old, and because I have a couple that are in the same time frame, and it's a struggle to keep them alive, happy, safe, not mixed up. Did you have any moments in time where you were like literally didn't have it at all and you had to go back to square one, or
Yeah.
you've been through those horrible? I understand there might have been a certain time period in your life when that happened, but in general, was it like
There
like
was
just-
always someone that had the backup, like
Yeah.
Ben and Skunk VA we had lost it at one point and they kind of rekindled it back into the picture for us when I was just doing the D at that point. When I lost the Kemp 91 at that point, I was doing more of the D and they kind of brought it back and got it back.
Sure, and that's one of those things that live and learn. I guess as growers get older, I think everybody's lost something. If usually there's something along the way which you were like, damn, you thought you left it with the right person, you come back and it's like, oh, dude, when I forgot to transplant it or whatever bullshit story. But I always find that to be one of those things where like it's such a task that people don't understand, especially when you're trying to keep a lot of lines going. It can be a struggle. Did you?
Especially back in those days.
Of course,
too.
because everything's got, you couldn't just tell anybody about it either.
Yeah.
And the people that you did tell,
Usually your circle of friends had the, had the backups.
yeah, and like you said, with like Skunk VA and stuff like that, people like that could grow it well too. That's the problem too. If you give it to the wrong person, they can degenerate all the work you've done, give it back to you, and you're like, what the hell happened here? It would take you multiple cycles to get it back to where it is. So do you grow with chemicals or do you grow mostly organic? What's your preference as far as like what's your style? You're just a real easy grower. Don't give all your secrets, of course, but are you a simple guy?
I'm gonna
or?
throw it out on the table right now, Adam. I haven't grown since I got in trouble about 5 years ago.
Okay, well that's fair.
I'm
enough.
not gonna lie.
enough. What was your
organics? Soil
you were more
organic.
organic.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Never grown water in my life.
That's amazing because everybody would assume just
Never.
from the name and from all the misnomer stories that were.
Believe
out
it or
there.
not, I was an earth juice guy.
Okay. Yeah. See, I kind of smelled it on you when you first came in. I was already like, is that patchouli? I got some patchouli vibe. Because back in the day with Earth Juice, I used to just tell people when I first got it, I was like, dude, it literally smells like it's like hippie juice straight up. Because they came into Amsterdam and it was like, you opened it up and it had that vibe where you were like, that is some funky hippie shit right there. Especially in like around 91, 92, those years, it was a different. Like now, if you smell it, it doesn't smell it. It's totally different. Like the product, you're like, well, no. Definitely back in the day, there was some more hippie magic going in there, and it worked a lot better too. I have to say. So, and you're pretty much going hydro though, right? These days, or production wise, I guess it's mostly hydro.
At Incredibles?
Or your cocoa.
My home?
Just in general.
At home, I'm cocoa and Botanica and a couple other things, but yeah.
Sure, and then.
Easy.
Yeah, and I mean here in this state, cocoa is really nice because of the dryness and stuff. It doesn't affect any. Like I always had problems in Holland with it because it was so wet anyway, and then
it's pretty consistent.
And then you'd have this really wet medium, and then you never they never had a break. There's never a break there. Whereas here you can kind of feel like there's some capillary action happening. It's not just sitting there stagnant. So now you're kind of like. When you see people, I mean, this is another thing. I get the same question all the time, so I like to ask it to other growers and recognized people out there. When people use your stuff, as we've seen over the years, there's plenty of people who have. How many of them have really been like part of the original? Because the whole idea of the Chem family now is kind of becoming again. Real, you know what I mean? Because we can all stand up and who's part of what. But back in the day, it was like definitely more smoke and mirrors. And I mean, I know people ran with your material. And did you ever have any like blowback from any of those things, or did you ever like get anybody who ever actually came forward and said, hey, you know what? I'm working with your thing, because I've literally never had one single person come to me and say, hey, I'm going to work with your thing, and here's a stack of cash, thanks a lot. Never happened. You know what I mean? Over the years, we've traded things back and forth and took care of each other, but there's never been that because I mean you were out of circulation for so long in a sense. Yeah. But at the same time, your stuff is being used by so many down the line.
A few people have definitely kicked down. Duke Diamond definitely was really good. Actually, he's probably been the nicest one out there out of everybody. To be honest with you guys.
True that.
Straight up on that.
For sure.
I'll be straight on that one. Besides that, I've only gotten a few packs of seeds here and there from a few of the other guys.
Right. Well, welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. It's it's definitely not as easy.
And there's a few other guys that I don't want to even give the time of day to and won't even mention their names on here. So
Sure, and I appreciate that too. Yeah. Because it's been part of the, it's like one of those things where I sometimes, I just close my eyes to it also. Like if I see.
You got to. I try not to have no drama.
What are you going to do? But occasionally when there's something where you can actually throw your 2 cents in and just to, like, take it out from under them and be like, well, it's not the real thing.
Yeah, it's awesome when they make shit with with not even real cuts. I think it's awesome.
Right, because then it's like they just laid out the rope. You know what I mean? And pretty much you're like, you just put that really around. Let me just mention, by the way, it has nothing to do with my thing. This industry though is changing rapidly, right? I mean, it's crazy. Like, blows me away because I came here in Colorado about 9 years ago now, and in that time frame, this state's transformed. And I watch in California, and I'm watching all the other states. But you're coming out of Mass now?
Yeah, I'm in Mass.
Are you going to be? Is there something going on where it's part of like you got something?
We're wrecking Mass, but yeah. I'm not doing any of them. I'm Team Incredibles at the moment.
That's awesome. Yo. We got some more Buffalomers rolling in. Cool. So what is it like there though? Because Massachusetts seemed like they took a pretty bold step compared to other states.
Yeah, we're wrecked. We just started July 1st, but there's no places open to buy any weed yet there.
There's not official, only medical stuff.
Only medical still, yeah, because they just didn't get the licensing and the distributors and the deliveries, so no one can deliver the stuff, and it's a mess.
Right.
They're hoping by September 1st you'll be able to go and get something there.
Crazy.
Recreational.
And Yeah, because isn't it weird? Because I grew up a little bit in New England too, and it's really strange to see, like, you expect it in California at some certain point, but whenever I'm driving back through New England and I see dispensaries, and it just kind of, it always, because a lot of them are in these like little funky old houses and stuff, because that's what New England has. You know what I mean? You don't have these brick and mortar that are really nice unless you're downtown and some in Boston or something like that. But for the most part, Rhode Island, these like you'd be like, okay, so this is the spot. You know what I mean? You roll up. But I feel like once it happens properly there, it's like it's the place that needed it the most too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they have the biggest opium crisis going on there, and it's just like it's kind of crazy to see how. Like when the last show at Boston that I was at, which will be coming up at the end of the month, this month, the Canacon, it was like weird because it was like when we were sitting out front, we're all smoking rigs out in front, right in front of the place, which is also weird right away. But then there's junkies everywhere, fucking passed out all over the place. I'm like, well, this is just like Amsterdam in 1990. This is literally like when I first moved to Amsterdam. It was like that was the vibe then. They didn't give a fuck. People just everywhere. Have you seen like? I mean, obviously you're
I'm not
you're
towards Boston. I'm more of on the western side of Mass, and
Right.
it's way different. It's way chill.
Okay, that's good to hear. It's good
Not
to hear.
like the city.
It's good to hear. But actually, I mean, it's really affecting places that are like that too, though. That are just like there's nothing to do. That they're nothing to do towns. You know. So now that you guys are here, part of this coming to this, not just to come to the Dead and Co, but also you're here to pretty much bring official Chemdog and PBud
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
to Colorado,
Let's
right?
back that up. I'm here to bring that to Colorado. I didn't come for the Dead and Company. I came for that.
It was a good bonus.
That's a bonus added, but I come to bring the chem stuff to the people in Colorado.
And I mean, this has obviously been, work in progress because you guys are about to launch properly. This is happening this weekend, or is this the first official?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Get ready. Friday the 13th too. What a great
Yeah.
day. What a perfect day.
day.
It's all coming together, right? So let's talk a little bit about that because one of our sponsors for the show, which we'll get into our sponsorship later because now we got two of them in the room already, so we can talk about it officially with them direct. But in general, you guys have linked up with Incredibles, which is where we have the ambassador here himself, Mr. Chang. So why don't you tell us a little bit how that all kind of came about?
So the connection with PBud and I actually happened in the summer of 2014. I took a short hiatus from the cannabis industry here in Colorado, and I went out to Sonoma County, California, and grew weed with my older brother, and we went to the Santa Rosa High Times Cup. And we went to the awards ceremony, and I was standing behind a guy, hat on. I was actually trying to remember all the details earlier. Hat on, taking pictures, so I couldn't see anyone's face. And I was just standing behind him reading his T-shirt, which was all about Chemdog. Like last seen, Deer Creek 91. It had all those notes, right? The milk carton T-shirt.
Yep.
And I'm laughing, I'm reading it. My older brother's next to me who actually saw The Grateful Dead. So I'm like, man, look, read this T-shirt. It's hilarious. So the person that I am in general, just in networking, I tap him on the shoulder and just tell him, hey, you got a cool shirt. He turns around and I was like, oh shit, I know who you are. I was like, you're PBud Mike. And that's how we met. And we kind of talked about, I was like, I used to live in Colorado. I'm thinking about working for Incredibles. And then he was like, yeah, I know Incredibles. My wife loves Incredibles. And, we just kind of talked about life. And we exchanged numbers that day and came back to Colorado to see what Incredibles was building. It was kind of the start of where we are today. It was, I came back to Colorado. I got to visit with Bob Esquino, the president, who I've never met before. I've met Rick Scarpello, the CEO, briefly right before I decided to leave Colorado. And after that meeting, I hit PBud up. He knew I was in town, and he came down to my hotel, and we talked a little bit more about the industry, and we talked about, what would it be like if he got badged and the opportunity. And we talked about Incredibles again and kind of what they were laying out for the future. I always used Incredibles my entire life since 2010.
My entire life.
I got a little confused. My entire time in the cannabis industry.
Yeah.
So 2010 is when I started, and Incredibles and a bunch of companies all started around the same time. And it's a big part of my life since then. And I really thought their platform was the best in the industry for an infused products company. I watched them all grow, and the consistency just in the product line made me think, well, there has to be consistency within the core that's, or this product wouldn't be as good as it is. So anyways, fast forward, I moved back to Colorado, and I got to introduce PBud to Max Eisler, who's here, who's our director of cannabis. And pretty much from that point, it was really just time. We all had to be patient as we were building out the future of our recreational cultivation facility. And when that went online is when we were able to bring PBud in. And that was over a year ago now, right?
Almost two.
Almost two. So in that whole time, we're working through compliance, through metric. We were able to get the 91, the D, and the 4 in compliantly, and we started, vegging them out and getting them into flower. Getting the moms healthy, and in the facility that we're in, it's huge. It's a big grow. It's the biggest grow that I was ever a part of so far. And so we just been stockpiling these genetics, and then Telly, who's here, Ryan Hubble, our lab manager, and his team have been extracting all of this product with, and this is the great thing about Incredibles, we have our own engineered closed loop system, hydrocarbon system, extraction that Max and Ryan and Derek Cummings, who we wanted to be here, he's our creative director, founder of Incredibles, they have a patented machine. And these guys and a couple of their other friends, they just, they believe in making really good hash and really good oil. That's kind of the bottom line at Incredibles, and we're able to make all these great products. But anyways, with these guys, we were able to, make a deal and officially launch, this Chemdog line, with all the cultivation, all the genetics being overseen by PBud and the grow team, and, so here we are, Dead and Company weekend, which is great, adds a mystique to it, It's just kind of a weird thing going on.
And Friday the 13th.
Yeah, Friday the 13th.
Don't forget Friday the 13th. I'm always
Yeah.
stoked whenever. And then I was like, damn, I'm not even going to do my show on Friday the 13th. And I was all pumped up for it because I thought you were coming. It was going to be the Friday the 13th show. But then I was like, oh, well, fuck it. We'll do the 12th.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you couldn't have picked a better company for sure. And that's the thing is, like, I think with Incredibles, I've always, as we talk about them every week, the main thing I tell everybody is it's about consistency. And the only way to do that is you got to know your inputs. Your inputs means you got to grow your own fucking weed. If you're not growing your own fucking weed, you're not a real fucking company, in my opinion. You're just working off whatever's there. You're going to be like this. There's no way you could be consistent, And so even as a grower, that you're going to have a summer crop and a winter crop. There's a little inconsistencies there. So imagine when you're talking about different strains and different fucking everything, So I feel like you guys landed at the perfect place. We got a caller. Yo, welcome to the Adam Dunn Show. Who we got?
Chance over in Oklahoma.
Hey, Chance Tinker. How you doing, my friend?
Nothing much. I was going to give you somewhat of an Oklahoma update if you got time.
Well, sure, we're in the middle, but we'll do it. Why not? Like, we all want to know what's going on in Oklahoma. Except it sounds like you sound really depressed. Like everything changed overnight. Like it went from victory to, oh, and by the way, we didn't fail to mention you can't smoke any weed or even, no, actually give us the update because I'm curious to see what the latest is.
Yeah, so health department had rules on it and came back and concluded that there's no reason to have flowers in dispensaries. So that's actually come to be a funny topic because we're trying to show that it takes a long time for edibles to kick in. And then, just on... they had an argument.
I mean, obviously, because we were just talking about Incredibles and edible companies and things like that. I mean, to have an edible-only platform is a rough one for many reasons, but definitely for the fact that that is somebody who did not do their homework looking into a model that would actually work long term.
Yeah, I think the rules still stand right now. Concentrates up to 20% max.
Yeah, that didn't even make sense. Concentrate. So they want to make concentrates up to 20%, which means that's like Bammer weed, basically. It's like that you want to create mids.
Yeah, there's weed that's higher than 20%.
Yeah. So what is the weed? Do they have a weed cap?
I mean, on the flower, I would actually need to look into that. I just know some of the highlights of the changes.
Uh-huh.
Also, putting a pharmacist in every dispensary required. That was another implementation on that.
Okay, so you need a pharmacist and wow, that's amazing. So that'll limit it down to like 3 guys that can actually pull that one off or something, maybe.
Yeah, the bill actually changed. Whenever they first came out with the rules, it came with a dispensary manager in charge that basically oversaw everything, and then it came up in question whether the dispensary manager in charge knew contradictions with other medications, which I argued that doesn't a doctor make the recommendation and should know the contradictions in the first place?
Yeah, and I mean, of all the substances you're going to be worried about contradictions to medications, cannabis is really not one of them, in my opinion.
In fact, does anyone in the room know of any contradictions that cannabis has?
Not that I can pull out of my hat. I mean, if you're one of those, it's not like it's an MAO or it's got some weird, other thing that's going to interfere with. I mean, that's the thing. They don't want it to interfere with their pharmaceutical shit, basically, is what they're trying to say. Well, that's
yeah.
And is this is this going to be appealed, or is this going to be what stage are we at actually? Because I know that they passed it, but at the same time, it seems like they will get a lot of pushback on that one.
Well, earlier this year we had a teacher strike that really separated our state, and I really think that the parties will start using this as somewhat of a ploy to get voters back on their side to get possibly reelected in November. So actually we've seen the legislature now come out and say that they need a special session, which just a few weeks ago our governor said that there's no need for a special session. So now we're in a bind and a little rock and a hard spot. So that's actually going to be funny to see how we work out of this.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Oklahoma even passed in the first place was pretty shocking, I thought, to a lot of people, just because now I have no jokes to make anymore. Because that used to be my running joke forever. Like, well, Oklahoma, when they flip, it's over. Like, it's done. And I'm like, shit, they flipped? It's not over? Fuck, now what state am I going to make fun of? You know what I mean? Then come up with a whole new one.
Yeah, I was trying to find the bill language on what the cap on the flower is real quick, but I think that's up to like, I want to say that I want to say 15, but I may be wrong on that. It's something low.
Wow. So that's like
it's
almost undoable in a way. It's like you really have to just really try so hard to do that. It'd be harder than to find a 15% or lower THC plant. And then
I may be wrong
it
on the flower limit, but
it's just funny that
to look it up.
20% doesn't make any sense on concentrates. I mean,
it's not possible. You'd have to cut it.
Exactly, and so then it would become an unsafe product at that point. You know what I mean?
I think really they're aiming for big commercial businesses to come in and cap this, but we're still unsure right now. So that's one thing that we're waiting for, more or less, is August 8th is the next health board, the Oklahoma Health Board meeting, and we're hoping to hear some kind of validation, whether someone overturns one of their votes, if there's any kind of possibility of that. But with the legislature pulling their deal, they could override, so that's actually where we're standing on right now. But August 26th, permits start going out to the citizens in Oklahoma.
So that's the date we need to keep our eyes out for Oklahoma. Well, I mean, hopefully it goes in the right direction, because the thing is that you're better off if it didn't pass almost, and then you could have rewritten it properly and actually come up with a better. Because that's what sucks, when they kind of throw it at you. You pass it, and now you're kind of stuck with a shitty deal that needs to be fixed anyway.
Yep.
And I've never seen the first deal ever be a good one. I mean, Colorado had the same situation. Every state that kind of took the bait almost kind of feels like they kind of got screwed over. You're almost better off to just say, you know what? One more year of this sort of medical thing might be better. Not a bad idea. So I kind of recommend that to anybody who has a chance, especially with the rec side too. I mean, it's the same situation. When you switch from medical to rec is when all of a sudden you realize like, oh shit, actually, this is actually set up. They're setting you up to fail theoretically. Like if and to beat it, you really have to be pretty fucking on point. Like, and that'll bring us back to what we were talking about before. But thanks for calling in, Chance, because we're in the mid conversation here. But we'd love to hear about Oklahoma, of course, and see what the hell's going on with you guys.
Okay, well, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. No problem. Anytime, bro.
Okay, well,
thank you,
have
sir.
a good one.
Okay, talk soon. Peace.
Okay, bye.
Mr. Tinker. So we were talking about Incredibles and how incredible they were, and the fact that you guys definitely picked the right people to be involved with, and again, just like I was kind of saying earlier, is just like the fact that you guys are growing, processing, doing it all in-house and with your own strains and stuff. And so then we got Max, who I've known for the whole time I've been here pretty much too, and we've watched. We've been through a lot together, put it that way. I mean,
Indeed.
We've been through a lot. So, how excited were you to have these guys on board? I'm sure, I know the character of you, Max, and to get you excited, this is the kind of thing that it's either this or some new vacuum pump or something.
Oh, this was huge. This was, before I even knew the story, what you had referenced earlier, the Canna Bible, that was the extent of what I'd known about it. But I'd known that the 91 was my answer to the whole desert island question. If you were going to be stranded in a place for the rest of your life, what was it going to be? And, that decision had been made long before I ever knew these guys. 91 was obviously the weed. So it was really cool. Like you had said, there's legends that people talk about in, folklore, so to speak. And the cannabis industry is young enough that the people that wrote these stories now can come out of the woodworks and we can share a table and a joint together like right now. So kind of unreal. I mean, really, to tell you the truth, I think that I couldn't be more happy.
Sure.
There's no other collaboration, I think, of any person or any group of, people that I'd rather be with.
That's awesome. And in general, I mean, just cornerstone sort of material that, one of the things when we do ADSI, as you know, it's all about like, two weed on the table, whoever's is better wins, and that's what and I think that's what Chem is one of those ones, you know what I mean? It's pretty much rolls in the room and it's like, shit, people start putting weed away. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, he's around now, you know what I mean? So it's like, I think if that's your goal, which is kind of, it seems that Chem is that perfect plant for a lot of people. And I know his skills as a grower, and I know the guys from Incredibles, how passionate they've always been, and how they are attentive, and it's about details and stuff. And kind of what I was saying earlier, it's like as long as the people who are growing your weed are good growers, then I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? It's like the minute when they start growing it shitty and giving you a bad name by like, dude, this is terrible. Like, what is this? You know what I mean? And so you got a chance, obviously, to be part of the development of this.
Yeah, last year I came out about a year ago to around this day. We came out and checked everything out. Met these guys. That was one of my decisions in this whole thing too. I know PBud works for them, not just that, but all the other guys like Max, Telly, Derek, Bob, Rick, all them guys were awesome when I met them. So it was, they're a good team over there. So that makes my decision even easier, to work with them kind of guys.
Of course. And then and has over. You think like growing it on a scale like that? Have you?
They do a good job for as far as that goes, because it's very hard to do. Like it's different, large scale grows are way different than smaller grows. And PBud and they know how to do it good there. That's for sure.
Another thing we didn't touch on before. Now that he's throwing all pieces up in front of me, I'm like, oh yeah, we've got a whole other side of you to talk about too, which is the glass blowing. And I mean, I love it because when I look at your work, I'm like, I got flashbacks to like the mid '90s, and it's like function. You know what I mean? That's key to anything. I think any piece, in my opinion, is function. Like when I see stuff that's like, fuck is that? You can't even like, how you gonna smoke out of that thing? And I was like, it doesn't make sense. And like classic hammer, and now you're doing rigs, obviously.
Yeah, I've been doing rigs for a while. I do more hammers though now. I like doing the hammers.
What's your like? I mean, what is your capacity? How much are you taking this like full-time job type thing on the side?
That's what I do.
It's anyway,
That's
so it's
my
still
job.
still rocking it since the beginning. And
No, I started in '94 blowing glass and stopped in 2000
okay,
and took a break until I had some legal problems in 2012 and started back up again.
and did you have all the same equipment and you like kept onto it? And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So you're still rocking on the same stuff,
Yeah. Well, my torch, I had to switch that up because mine died finally, but
right?
more or
And
less a lot of the same tools and everything.
you guys have you just do direct sales, or do you have any kind of?
I have a
like,
few stores. I do a few wholesale stores, but mostly direct sales.
because it's great because it's one of those things where like obviously one of the reasons I got into functional glass is because it's functional, and over the years you've watched other people develop styles and stuff. I was trying to get an old friend of mine on the show today. Who knows? He might call in, but he's another piece of the puzzle, which is Hal from old school.
Yeah, I don't really know him that well.
Yeah,
I
do you
mean,
ever-
I know I've heard his name, and so I know who
Because it's funny because if you see his glass style, it's like
He's old- yeah.
he's old school too,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like you got the similar. It's funny to watch because
Yeah.
the styles are kind of similar. And yeah, I was trying to see if I can get him just to call in anyway. He's like one of those guys. Also, we always try to keep him because he was part of that big fucking story too. You know what I
Yeah,
mean, with the
yeah,
sour
with the
stories.
sour.
So it's like and it's always nice to see that those guys who kind of were at that phase in their life, a lot of them, are doing what you're doing, still rocking. And you guys have a lot of work with you on the show this time, or you just bring a few pieces?
I brought like 7 really nice hammers, really nice heady hammers, and like 30 one-hitters.
Oh, so look for you. Look
Yeah.
for you. I heard Shakedown Street's ridiculous this year. It's like it's a giant. It's a monster. It's a monster this year.
Good.
Right? Pretty fun. So with this collaboration, are you going to be coming out to Colorado on a regular, or what's your?
I don't know. My traveling days are kind of.
No, I know you're a tough
Come
guy. You're a
on,
tough guy to get to get.
Yeah,
I've heard of you put a couple of good invitations down before when you're like, you know what, forget about it.
because at the end of the, you only live once, and at the end of the day, your family's most important.
Sure, no, 100%.
You know,
I agree.
I'm not running around doing all these crazy events and doing all that kind of thing, but I'll come out here and
If you're
once in a while.
selective and you get the right ones, yeah, it's all worth it, I guess. So what's the?
This is a big one. This is a big thing. This is a big event for me.
So tell us, that's where we need Steven to get back over here for a second, because give me the lowdown on
off,
all these times and things, because you guys are on a schedule now. You guys are on a serious tour, the mini tour,
Schedule, yeah.
a tour of the show. What's the
Yeah, well,
the breakdown? Because you're gonna go see our friends over at Boulder Wellness, right?
we're actually going to start tomorrow at Peak Dispensary
Okay.
on Broadway here in Denver.
Sweet.
Recreational dispensary from 3 to 6 o'clock. I would recommend getting there as early as possible. Try to beat the rush if you want to be one of the first people to, purchase one of these Chemdog products. We're going to have live resin, and we're going to have the Chem 91 sauce pen, 500 milligram. So you purchase that product first, and then we'll get you in line to spend some time with PBud and Chemdog and ask them whatever you want. And then that's going to be pretty much the setup everywhere we go. Saturday, we're going to go to Boulder Wellness. Dead & Company's last show of summer tour is going on. At the same time, we'll be there from 12 to 3 o'clock. We're actually going to have a special edition shirt that we're going to drop at that pop-up, specifically because of the whole Dead & Company thing. So we haven't dropped any pictures of what that is. So if you want that shirt, be at that pop-up.
Well, that's how this whole thing started, right?
right?
With a shirt.
The
So
shirts, man.
You got to watch the shirts.
Yeah.
This
As long
could be
as
your-
as long as USPS is on.
It's on time.
Oh
on time.
shit!
Yeah, that.
And then,
Shirts in the mail.
and then actually, if you pay attention to some of our personal IG stories, we're going to be at the show Saturday. We're going to be at Shakedown hanging out. We're going to have Chemdog apparel. We'll have, if there's any glass left, we'll bring it. But yeah, keep a lookout for us. It'll be a good time to pick up some stuff before the show. And then Sunday's a long day.
Uh-oh.
Sunday's the long day. It's
I'm tired.
kind of a triple threat.
And it's a Sunday.
And it's a Sunday. This is a Sunday, I guess, fun day, if you ever asked for one here in Colorado. Kind Love, 10 o'clock in the morning till 1. And then we're going to take a little bit of a break. And 1136 Yuma and the Coffee Joint. They're side by side.
Yep.
So
had a show there.
yeah. So that's Denver's first social use club.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that, and that's the after hours kind of party sesh where everybody can bring the products that they purchase with their receipt. We'll give you a password at the pop-up. We're not going to tell you what that is here, but we'll tell you at the pop-up, and then you can show up Sunday, and that's where you can really spend time with everybody, really kick it, be relaxed, and end the weekend on a really high note.
Nice. So, yeah, the coffee joint's awesome, man. We went there, had a show. It was, it's amazing that there's not more people with the same situation where you're like, well, so wait a minute, was this hard? And Rita just said it wasn't hard at all. She just went in and said, I got a spot next door. And it's like, well, why doesn't everybody laugh? It seems so strange.
The section she was into, like, all those businesses didn't really care and fully supported what she wanted to do. And, I think in the future I'm hoping that, Jared Paulus and Kayvon, get elected.
Of course.
And they bring back what's been stripped away from us over the past few years. It's been a slow, painstaking process, but if you think about it, it's just been like, slowly stripping away all the things that we get to do and the opportunities to expand on, ancillary business or whatever that is, our own businesses within the regulated industry. So,
well, everybody's gun shy here in Colorado now. You see, it's like it's so like you almost, it's almost like they're tell you'll never be able to do it before you can do it, and you're just like, what? Wait a minute, whatever happened to the whole like let's just fucking do it? Oh no, dude, because everybody's got too much to lose,
right?
Because they've all put so much money into whatever they're doing, and then all of a sudden they're in a box, and they don't feel like there's no way to like even attempt to like fuck with the system. I'm like pissed off to the point where I'm like, every time I see this happen, I'm like, why are we not just all having smoke-ins? Like, we should just do flash mobs.
Yeah,
like, because everybody's like, be like a flash mob smoke out, just do them everywhere, and people would be like, what was that? And I'd be like, that's the future, bro. And then you're out, you know what I mean? And then, welcome to the future. Yeah. Boom. And everyone was like, I don't know, nothing really happened. But the only thing I always say is we have to figure out, like, somebody has to clean the whole place up while you're doing it. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have a group, like green team there, cleans up the whole section, bunch of people blaze. And it's like that place just got clean and everybody blaze. That doesn't make no sense. You know what I mean? Because if you do the opposite, if everyone just goes and smokes, it's going to be like, yeah, they fucking left a mess, But I feel like it's so weird that people are getting less and less, able to fucking organize like that. And it's like, isn't it that easy? I mean, we just all get on the fucking phone and go blip, meet you there, bam.
Yeah, we don't even really make an effort anymore as an industry around the biggest holidays. It's
like 710 was like a crickets out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't hear anything happening.
Yeah, and I'm glad with this event that we're doing, we're kind of able to bring back a little something to the culture that's been missing. And it's so deep, and it's a story that everybody loves and everybody has an emotional connection to. I mean, we're all smoking the weed that we love today because these guys had that meeting, did what they did.
It's like a feel good. It's like a feel good story.
Yeah,
Grateful Dead tour was the first Facebook. I mean, first social media. I mean, that's how we met people, and you exchanged numbers, and you'd see them in Ohio, you'd see them in Illinois, California, and traveling with cuts.
That's your next T-shirt right there. Grateful Dead was the first Facebook.
Someone's already made.
I got that. I stole that one from Skunk VA.
Oh yeah, but it's true. I mean, it was a lot of people that I know, they were never even went inside. You know what I mean? Just because they didn't have to. They did all their business already. They were done. They went home. You know what I mean? It was like, so you've seen them 35 times, but you've never seen them. I get you. I see what you mean now.
Not me. I was there for the music. Well, and the social was the bonus, but.
Yeah, and again, like those little simple meetings, and taking like for you to take the time to tap him on the shoulder, because you could have just read the shirt and walked away, and then you wouldn't have made that connection. So it's always like sometimes that little extra effort, and I think because everybody's so fucking like effortless, everything's effortless that it's hard to like try to just like, why don't you go up and like ask or something? Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
like too much to fucking deal with right
And
now.
I'm,
Like,
I'm
you
glad
know?
I'm from the old school where you had to go up and actually, talk to people
Yeah,
and engage,
well,
in that way.
Yeah, you definitely. Yeah, you and like you said, you were networking when I went to when I was living in Holland. It was funny. I got there, and I was like putting cards in other people's stores. I made these little posters up and had our cards, and I put it in their place, and then they'd be like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I'll put your cards at my place. I'll have a whole wall of cards, and then when people come to your spot, oh, they'll see my little poster, And the guys were like, "What do you?" Well, and they were all confused. I go, "It was." I remember this too, and I was like, "It's called networking. Like it was some new idea, And then they were like, "What's that?" Like they had no fucking concept of it. I was just like, "I help you, you help me."
Yeah.
Kind of, we give you exchange shit. It was like it was just hilarious.
Yeah, my
But-
first networking meeting was definitely a strange experience. Whatever we talk about, I do want to switch
Yeah.
spots again with
Oh,
Telly
Oh, yeah.
and Max because I want them to talk with these guys about, the future, what's to come, kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
what
Let's
these
do
guys
it.
have been doing.
For sure.
And so, yeah, follow our Instagram page, I Love Incredibles, I Love Incredible Extracts for all the meet and greet pop-up information. Follow the IG stories, follow Chemdog's IG stories. Come find us on Shakedown Street on Saturday.
Sounds like a plan. All right, let's get Telly and Max up on there, and then we'll be kind of within the time frame. I didn't kill you. I didn't put you on a normal 3-hour sesh, And they got you scared. I saw already on the text earlier. He was like, "What? How long?" So now we got the brainiacs out of this. The brainiacs at the table.
Scientists.
Scientists, yes. Telly has been on the show before. You guys have both been on the show before, obviously. So again, like you guys now take this awesome product and turn it into, well, like we see here, pens and different kinds of sauce and stuff. Explain to us some of the different things you guys are doing and what you're breaking everything down and since that's your thing.
So for the first drop, it's all what we're calling sauce. It seems like there's a bunch of names going around here, but live resin sauce sort of product, But it's it's amazing. It's amazing genetics to work with. Since I'm from Western Mass myself, so I grew up not really knowing about it, and then when I started growing, I learned about Chemdog fairly quickly and became obsessed with it. So it's an honor for me to get to extract, to get to extract all this product and the true genetics and be able to to present it to the public officially as the official
Yeah, to
Chemdog
give all those
products.
people a chance to actually knowing that you make that real good. I think that's also been one of the addictions of all weed guys is always just like kind of getting other people high is really fun. You know what I mean? So you get addicted a little bit to that too. Like you want to be the guy who gets everyone coming back going like, dude, I had to leave the room, whatever. That's like, yes, success. Fucking did my job.
Yeah, so we've been cranking it out in the lab past couple weeks, doing crystallizations on basically all of it, giving the people what they want.
And what was you guys concentrating on any what's the like ratios? Who's the best hash? What's making the best sort of between the different strains, between the different how many chems are you guys actually running right now?
So we've got for the official chems, we have the 91, the D, and the 4.
Okay.
And then we have the D I-95 in one of our gardens as well.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean the 91 is really dirty and fuely, but the D is just so unique. It's got this like body odor funk to it that is just it's chem, but it's definitely different than the 4 and the 91 for sure.
Yeah, the Chem D always had more funk. I always noticed too, and it's kind of what it gravitated me towards that one if I had a choice of any of them, just because I always like, well, that's the thing that's disappearing off the planet, so you need to keep the funk alive. You know what I mean? Keep that funk alive.
Wet socks kind of thing.
Yeah, all the things that other people don't have a clue what the fuck we're talking about when they're like, dude, really? You're like, yes.
Yes.
Dirtiest, funkiest, nastiest shit
I want
possible.
to make a perfume and make my wife wear it.
Yeah, we could get that done.
We could do that. So, and how about like between them? Since you guys are doing a lot of testing, I assume, and things. Which one has the highest terpene level? And Do you have yours?
Man, I want to say it's the 91's really separating nicely, but I think the D might be testing the highest as far as terp levels. The D is definitely the like the outwardly the most loud. You know, you can smell that one more than the others, but they all hold their own. The 91 packs a great, that really dirty kind of more earthy, fuely punch to it. The four is even a little bit earthier than that one too, and then the D with like all that funky footnote on top.
Funky footnote. The funky footnote. Yeah. Well. Yes. Did you? So you're doing sauce this round. Are you guys planning on doing other types of extracts with them, or you kind of?
I mean, we've been stacking up some of our diamonds from the mine lately. So expect to see some, you know, fully crystallized, you know, really nice structured diamond products coming out.
Sweet.
But you know, most of our more normal things, you know, we also have the sauce pens out, which is the, you know, full spectrum high terpene juice that we get from the crystallizations. We take that and put it into the pen with the THC that came from it, and give you that full spectrum pen with that, you know, raw sauce in there.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the one beauty, like because it's, to me, it's kind of this. It's a funny thing how this whole industry is kind of changing, because it's like we're now like taking stuff and, you know, breaking it up and then putting it back together again, and then realizing when we're putting it back, because the more I smoke, the more I realize, like, you know what, it's like, it seems like when it's all together, it makes more sense, because the minute you start separating it, the temp. What about the temp? It's a question for you, because I was wondering about this. They must burn at different temperatures, right? They must melt, like their melting point must be a lot different between to diamonds.
Oh yeah.
So like if you're hitting on a nail and you're mixing the two and you're going to make the perfect temperature, to me it seems like it's a pain in the ass, because sometimes it's too low for the diamond and too high for and you get into this zone.
I was just talking about this with our marketing today. You know, the people want this and it's attractive. You know, I guess we'll just lay it on the line right now.
I don't mind telling people what I really think. I mean,
yeah. So the truth is
I did this last night, and I got all these investors really mad at me. So
from a person who is
that guy
fascinated by the chemistry, trying to go for the largest rocks that you can with the most clarity, there's something attractive and impressive about that.
Of course.
But from a consumer standpoint and from a producer standpoint, I have two relatively relevant reasons why I don't think it's the best. And you brought up a question that a lot of people don't take into consideration.
The temperature.
These hard rocks, they have a higher boiling or a higher melting point.
Yeah.
And it takes longer for them to melt down to a liquid and start to vaporize.
Yeah.
Where the terpenes have a much lower one. And so because of that, you're hitting the nail too hot for the terpenes and too low for the crystals.
Yeah, because what I noticed it was on this piece, because it doesn't have a lot of slits, and if I tried to smoke diamonds through it at a low temp, it would just, one hit, I would be like, all right, that's it. I got to clean this piece again. I couldn't even get a hit through it again because it just fused in there, So I couldn't do low temp on that at all with that,
Exactly.
But I could, But if I put them separate, anyway, go ahead.
No, that's exactly it. And so, if you get a large rock like that in a gram, ultimately what I would end up doing is crushing it up and mixing it up with the juice to. Right. I do this with food too. I call it the perfect bite, the PB. You want to get a little bit of the jalapeno and a little bit of the cilantro and all of it you want on your fork at every bite. And you can't replicate that when it's all separated like that. But,
so it looks prettier separate, but end of the day, that's how my grandfather would eat too. So.
But the market is volatile, and so we're riding the wave, and we like all hash, we're just concentrate guys. So.
Well, you do have to give the public what they want. If they want diamonds, you're gonna obviously you're gonna give them diamonds, right? And you want them to be the biggest diamonds and the most clear diamonds and all those things that come with the idea of diamonds. But when it comes to when I tell people it's the same sort of deal, I just say like, man, it's better when it's all nice and evenly mixed, and then you can at least get a better running temperature because you don't just get these two things going on. So, are you big into dabs on your own, or what's your preference for smoking nowadays?
A little bit dabs here, a little,
Because flour
a little bit, not much. I'm not like crazy anymore.
No. but I mean, for me, I'll never stop smoking flower, and people always because I smoke dabs a lot too. So people are like, you don't smoke any flower, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I do, because I mean I actually only the way I get high. I don't get high off of fucking dabs. I kind of just I do it for the fun. I literally do that for exactly what we were talking about earlier, just for the fun part of staying in scene and doing things and whatever. Tastes good. There's some good taste, but I don't get really high. Good. I don't get, unless I smoke like 5 different people's shit at once, and then it starts to get a little bit like, okay, now I'm starting to get high. But with a single joint will turn the switch, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's what it's all about right there. Just a little ding, and it's like, because getting high in the long run is not a huge head change, but it's just enough.
It's definitely the oil and the flower is different, Buzz, for sure.
Yeah, like I don't get. I see the kind of chasing the fucking never-ending. It was kind of like bong hits. Bong hits for me back in the day were like that. Like I got one good one a day, but I did about 20 or 30. You know what I mean? But I had one good one. I'd be like, there it is. That's the one. Okay, all that work all day because somebody interrupted me. The timing was bad. I fucked up and didn't pack it properly. It blew through. I don't know. There's always something. I had an excuse for every reason why I needed to do another one to test. But sort of the same idea with dabs, because you get a good dab, you get an okay dab. You fucked up on that dab or whatever. So, but with your glass, obviously, are you seeing a lot more people wanting to buy rigs, because that's kind of seeming to be the direction for a lot of people?
It was for a while, but I've been selling a lot more hammers now.
Oh, yeah?
Like lately, yeah, believe it or not. It was rigs for a while. Like a lot of people were ordering rigs, but now it's a lot of hammers lately.
As soon as I saw the rigs, it was a great old school connection to a younger generation. It was.
Oh, it's a total meld of the things.
Yeah,
it's like you would have, like, if you had that pipe in 1993, everybody would, what do you do with that? I don't know, bro. We have no idea. It just came in a time machine, bro.
I made this for Tully in 2015.
Nice.
I just want to jump in. This is the perfect timing about glass making it. For all these meet and greets, for every purchase that you make of any of these Chemdog products, you'll be entered into a raffle to win a Chemdog piece that he hasn't made yet, which is going to make this whole experience even better, because he's going to take back this, experience and make something even better and different. So we're going to do a raffle, and we'll pick the winner on August 10th. So the more products you purchase, the more tickets you get. So
good call on that one. So you said 7 hammers right now?
Yeah,
those are the big,
nice ones.
The lucky 7, whoever.
I think there might be 8 actually.
Possibly 8. But yeah, if you're in the mood for some old school, and that's the thing. I loved hammers. To me, that was
It's just classic.
They just fucking. I mean, I still have. And the funny, shitty thing is, I have so many nice pieces in Amsterdam that I was too scared to bring back because they were so dirty. And now I don't give a fuck anymore. Now I'm just like, I'm gonna go back, zip, send it through, and if they get caught, be like, what did they? Who cares anymore? But no, there's some great pieces. So I told you an hour. I think we kind of kept it within the frame. You guys got any?
Just a long day.
Oh, I bet, no problem. I just want to wrap up with you guys and then I'll go into my sponsors, and then you guys will jump in, and then we'll continue the fucking party, which will be awesome. Do you got any kind of websites for your glass that anybody can go to?
My Instagram.
Just go to Instagram, and that is
at Chemdog /glass.
Chemdog
Underscore.
Sorry,
just for the
underscore.
Chemdog _ glass for you.
Thanks, Tally.
For the internet.
Thanks. He's right.
Yeah.
I don't know the difference between those two. I'm sorry.
Gotta
You're
make
like,
sure
damn, nobody ever sends me nothing. No.
You know what? Real quick, while we got an opportunity to, while we're doing these plugs, and just to follow up from kind of trash and diamonds for just a slight second, I want to just backtrack and say I'm down with the whole process. It's just the large rocks that I feel like have an appeal, but not a quality. But we're really stoked to be making these because we just finished out a piece of our equipment that's called the sauce pot. That's from the Incredible Extractor. Mm-hmm. And this is right on the cusp of being approved in Denver Class 1 Division 1 environments. Nice. So other people who are licensed facilities that are trying to do this and are being hassled by the regulations. Yeah. The way we're pulling it off is in our own equipment. And like I said, it's right around the corner for full-on approval for everyone in Denver, and that's going to be easy for everyone in Colorado. So I just wanted to put that out there as well.
So if you want giant diamonds that Max hates. Give him a call. Give him a call. No, but we just try to educate people. That's all. And that's
Right,
part of the
right,
education is
yeah.
realizing that it's not all about sometimes looking at what's the shiniest thing.
Looking at the pictures on Instagram.
Yeah, and also I think a lot of it's to do with what you really we all are excited when we see that too, because for us to see crystallized THC was the first time ever was a fucking trip, and you're like, oh my god.
I totally understand it, and I realized it. Even I have friends in Colorado that I was like out at a concert and I pulled a gram out, and I had thought for sure these friends would have seen diamonds by then. And then I pull it out, and they're just like, oh my god, like oogling over it. And I was like, that's when I realized, like, shit, there's a lot of people who are gonna still, like, the waves of people that are gonna figure out what this is, and
and
it's not gonna die.
No, and that's also the great thing about cannabis is like whenever you think you've nailed it and it's down and that's it, we've achieved maximum, the best, this is the pinnacle of whatever it can be. Someone goes, well, what about that? And you're like, fuck, I never thought of that. You know what I mean? Because even with I remember when. Like the difference between here, we were all into shatter. Everybody was shatter. It was all about, and then Cali was kind of all into this more. They were kind of the first people that didn't like that, liked more saucy stuff at first, and then all of a sudden, then we had fucking Nolan, all those guys introducing that, and everything changed like overnight almost. Where it was like, wait a minute, the shit that people didn't like last week, now they love it because before they were like, this is all gooey, and
those dudes had trouble catching on for a couple of years too. I remember being maybe one of the first people super hyped on it when I was in the Bay.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of people just calling it poop soup until it got rebranded with a better crystal structure in it. And but the sauce, they were anti-sauce until the crystals looked better, and then everyone was all about the sauce.
It's amazing how the industry changes, and hopefully, the great part is to be part of it still. You guys are still in. Everybody's like can reinvent themselves in a weird way too, and it's great to see that you guys, have physical. Everybody out there who has Chemdog glass, should be, I'm sure your name gets told. Stories get told on top of stories. Who knows how real they are, but it's just good to know that there's a lot of people out there talking crazy stories. And I've never heard nothing bad. Chemdog's always been one of those things where it's like, you are you, and you're obviously a super cool guy, and there's never been a thing weird about it, whereas everything that came from it, though, turned into fucking mayhem, you know what I mean? So it was like, you were like the guy who like threw the fucking thing in, and all of a sudden it was like, yeah, have fun with that, and all of a sudden, bam, like, the sour and the whole story behind that, and how, the confusion, and one of the things that we touched on with our sour sort of investigations over the years was the original Our Chem story, which I love because, there they are collecting seeds off their fucking stuff. Because one thing about Chem, good or bad, it always had the ability to throw out that like possibility where you got a seed somewhere or you got a crazy male fucking branch. Sometimes I've seen some bizarre, there's something weird going in the background of there. I don't know what it is, but it's not unheard of to get those, and that's why all these things have came, these S1s that have popped up out of fucking nowhere. And some of them awesome, you know what I mean? Because they're just people who can do a good job selecting and stuff. And so it's just awesome to see that you created such a fucking self-replicating mayhem machine, you know what I mean? That just keeps going on. And that's what cannabis is about. Like, it's about like, that's why I hate femme stuff. And I hate, like, for me, it's always been about like, I'd love to get males. And I'm sure, once people realize the value of it, like realize, oh shit, man, males are actually pretty cool. You can do a lot more, and instead of dead-ending all their projects, feminizing everything because they think they want to control it like they're some fucking major companies. Like, dude, you're actually better off having people use your stuff, and then, because in 20 years from now, there'll be more chem everything. The chem will even be more crazy in the sense of the misinformation. You should listen to that show, the Adam Dunn show from way back in 2018. That was actually really him. What? No, that guy doesn't. Like the Colonel Sanders of Colonel Sanders of cannabis at that point. Like, is that guy real? I don't know. I think he's real. I heard he was real, but I'm not really sure. Yeah, thanks for coming through. Great to finally meet you in person.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, Adam.
It was, I'm sure we touched on a few little things. It was one of those things where we can talk forever, obviously, but I know you got a long couple days ahead. So good luck with that. And if you guys want to catch up with these guys, hit them at the Kind. You're at Kind Love and the Peak. Gonna
We'll
hit
be
Peak.
at Peak Dispensary tomorrow from 3 to 6.
Yeah.
Boulder Wellness Saturday 12 to 3.
Nice, our
And then
buddies.
Sunday Kind Love 10 to 1, and then 11:36 Yuma Coffee Joint 3 to 6.
There you go. Mini tour.
That's the run.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming through.
Thank you.
Thanks, Max, for coming in as always.
Of course, thank you.
Ruining everybody's diamond life. My whole Diamond Baron's gonna be pissed at you. Bro.
I know. Normally I'm all positivity, but you know,
Addison's gonna have a fucking lynching. I'll
me and-
kill that
me and-
guy.
Me and the Baron, we can arm wrestle over it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Telly, for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, guys, thanks. And then I'm going to do my sponsors, and then we're going to roll. So we'll start off with Incredibles Edibles, of course, the number one edibles here in Colorado, now going nationwide and crushing it everywhere they go. Keep an eye out for all of their in-house brand stuff that they've got, whether it be their pens, their extractors. Thanks, PBud. Their extractors, their as you've seen here, their new line of Chemdog products. I mean, there's another 10 reasons to love this company. Go to iloveincredibles.com. You can always check out their website, see a store finder. If for some reason there's a store near you that doesn't have it, tell them they're insane. I don't know why they don't have them in the shelf. Also, we want to go to our buddies from New Millennium Nutrients. We'll have them on the show soon because Neil, I've been hanging out and talking to him recently, and I think he's ready to finally come on. So we're going to have some inside scoop on this stuff. But, you know, all I know is I've been using it for 4 years, almost 3.5 years now, and it's the shit. It fucking nails it every time. The formulas are adaptable with any other company pretty much if you want to switch over slow. Again, like, they have a few standalone products which I love, like the Ruby Fulvic and the Winter Frost, and their Decision, which is what you would use right at the switch over time period. Really helps boost them up. You can go to newmillenniumnutrients.com, see a store finder, and see all the see what their calculator and figure out what you might need for your garden. Yeah. Also,
Build the soil.
Build a Soil. That's okay. I got you. All right. Jeremy and the boys over at Build a Soil, and girls, are your most trusted source for any kind of amendments, any kind of IPM products, anything you might need to grow the best organic plants you want to grow. And also great for no-till and informative people that all work there. So if you ever have any questions, you can go to 855-877-SOIL, call somebody, or go to buildasoil.com, and they will have a nice website for you to check out. It's very easy, very well organized, great stuff. Give them a shout.
That brings us to WallaceWow.com.
WallaceWow.com. Yeah, apparently Ron had one casualty already.
Oh. Bummer.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I just saw it was off the fucking thing. But he's got some beautiful pumpkins setting in right now. So you can find him on Facebook or whatever, Mr. Ron Wallace. But you can also go to his website and see his this year's attempt for a world record. And this guy knows rhizosphere. It's okay. Like no other. So if you want to get any mycorrhizal products, this is your guy to get to. You can go to Jeremy and get everything too, but this is the guy you want to go to specifically for your rhizosphere. And again, this guy grows 10-pound tomatoes. He grows fucking 2,000-pound pumpkins. So who's arguing, right? Who's arguing with this guy? Give him a shout. WallaceWow.com. And seedsherenow.com. You can pull, whatever. Seedsherenow.com. He's our main sponsor. I'm just going to lay it out there because this guy has been there since he's been on board. He hasn't missed a beat. He's fucking killing it with his different breeders that he's got on board, which is, I'll tell you, it's a job. Just to have one or two breeders on board is rough. When you have 30, 35, whatever he does, that's a task in itself. And he also he's got some great drops going on. I believe, what do you got?
New drops and restocks, Ethos 9D4 R1 presale. All right. And then for more sales, you want to check out those?
Yeah, if you got it.
Let's do it.
Might as well. Throw it up there.
Don't you lie to yourself.
Hey.
You can't miss these deals.
Yo, don't you lie to yourself over here. That's
All
a
right,
good one. I like
breeder
it. I like it.
sale.
I like it.
Breeder sales, all Golden Coast Genetics, 7888. Utopia Farms, 24K Banana and Holy Banana, 138.88. Exotic Genetics, A1 Yola and Fukushima, 88.88. Mycotech Reanimator Family Dog, 88.88. The Moda Rebel Savage Squeezins and Snake Eyes, 888. Crockett Family Farms Fat Boy Hellfire, 108.88. Yep.
Sounds good. So yeah, and you can also go to seedaholics.com too. That's their auction site / charities, etc. Can you find the crazy lot? I think he just found some super old exotic packs. Well, it's super old, a couple of years, but just old enough.
Purple Skittles, Purple Rose.
See, he's got. You on the Seedaholics now?
Right there, yeah.
Yeah, they got some great stuff. So you should go check out that site if you want to find some unique stuff, and if you want to just go to the regular website, it is seedsherenow.com. Seedsherenow.com. And that's it, right?
That's it.
And then, of course, my buddies out in Barcelona. Barcelona. Oh, yeah. And so Treasure, see, it's TRESUR, Treasure Barcelona. You go to Facebook, check them out. If you're in Barcelona and you find this little guy's spot, his name's Petey, he's my boy. You just roll in there, you say, Adam Dunn Show. Boom. Free membership, $35. Or I think $30, whatever it is. You'll get the super treatment. They'll be like, how in the hell did you find us? Actually, he's right in the city center, so it's not too hard. Super cool shop. Great. I know they have some new drops actually right now. So check them out. Treasure Barcelona.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have also in the house. I knew I had to get double guests because we couldn't have another short show.
Right.
Be all lame.
That would be terrible.
Especially because we're doing it on a Thursday. We're all fucking discombobulated.
I know.
And it's late. So fuck it. We're the late night show now. We're the late night forever show.
Yeah.
So we have the guys from Buffalo on.
Sweet.
And Green Farms. They were on a couple weeks ago too, but we got them back. Because I really knew that I knew that I wanted to bring them together with PBud and with G and stuff. So
Sure.
little love. Plus, I actually really want to start sponsoring the show officially.
Sweet.
Like with money and stuff.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, like maybe we can get a computer that actually we can work on a level that will work better than the ones we have now.
Yeah.
And then everyone will be happy. Like, happiness. The Adam Dunn Show is that much better. We try, we do, I swear.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to come on, have a little chat. I'm sure they're all pumped up for, come on over. Come on over, Mr. Ryan.
Come on down.
Come on down to the Adam Dunn Show.
Oh, yeah.
Sit over here. You got all your gear? You got everything? Yeah. Yeah, bring it all. Bring it all. Don't forget anything.
Come on in.
Once you're locked in, you can't move, dude. It's over. Oh, you gonna take a photo? Okay. Well, we might have to take a 2-second break for a photo then in a second. If you get it all lined up, I'll run up in the back and go.
There we go.
So yeah, we have to.
That's cool. You can.
Hey, that's what ambassadors are all about, bro. They come in, they get the job done. Incredibles ambassador Stephen Chang is putting together the ultimate photo.
Hell yeah.
All right. And so we'll talk a little bit. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about something fun. You have something crazy to bring to the table?
Nothing real crazy.
Oh, okay, good. Nothing too crazy.
Nothing too crazy.
Nothing too crazy.
After last week's crazy stories, I don't know if I can take any more crazy.
No, it was not crazy.
It was crazy.
Was it?
All the Snoop Dogg stories and all
Oh,
that.
that story? That was kind of crazy. That was kind of crazy. It was
Yeah.
funny. It was a funny crazy. Yeah.
Plug.
Indeed.
Oh, yeah, I do have a plug. Let's see. Behind me. How convenient was that? You didn't bring the monster pit thing with you?
Oh, that was your birthday thing.
I
don't
know.
want to bring that every time.
I thought you were going to bring a bigger one. I thought it was going to be even bigger. I was like, I got this one now. It's like, okay, so, I got to run outside and take a picture. So why don't you introduce yourself?
All right.
Pretend it's your own show. This is
This is definitely the Adam Dunn Show.
The Green Farms / Buffalo.
But I appreciate being on the show again. Yeah, so what's up, guys? Brian with Green Farms. I'm also in charge of Buffalo.
Yeah. into organic farming, man. I've been checking out your
Absolutely.
Instagram lately, man. It's
Living
cool,
soil.
Yeah.
I would say for the people that don't know, we believe that almost the motto is feed the soil, not the plant. So we focus on that the soil medium is actually almost like a stomach. We like to top feed. We like to foliar feed with compost teas, personally.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And this is JW.
JW.
What's up, buddy?
You can pop in next to him or in the end there. It's all good. Get in where you fit. Yeah, either one. Either one you want to. Yeah, you can get in. Wherever you want to. Get in where you fit in.
Can you hear me? On this one? I'm on number 3.
Cool. Gotcha.
Okay.
We got you.
All right. Yeah.
So it's good to have you guys on the show today.
Yes.
Yeah, man, we
thank you.
appreciate it.
But to see Chemdog, that's
sitting with you.
I mean, I was in
A little starstruck with that.
I was really starstruck. So, yeah, seriously.
Actually,
I'm a grower, and I mean, I'm a breeder, and I mean, it's amazing.
Right, absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, it's kind of my fault that we're
A lot
doing
of
this
history with
Thursday
that.
night, but I'm actually kind of glad how it all worked out.
Follow Ken.
Yeah, we're
All right, I had to get back quick before these guys got really good, and everyone was like, "These guys are way better than Adam. Why don't you just leave Adam?"
We had the show going, man.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
We're
fuck.
taking
I
out-
was like, hey, it's going too good over there. We got to get back over there and fuck it
Keeping
up.
all the holes on the, or thumb on the holes.
I got to
there.
fuck it all up. That's my job.
It's all
So, welcome guys back to the show.
Thank
It
you
hasn't
for
been. It
having
hasn't
us.
been that long. It hasn't been very long. But I was just thinking, because I thought it was gonna be on a Friday too, so I thought it was gonna be like a party. Woo. But anyway, in general, I wanted you guys to meet up with them because I thought that's a good.
Absolutely.
we
Always
carry
admire
all
their
of their products at our store. We love Incredibles.
Nice.
We love
Absolutely.
Incredibles.
We love it.
We love
Nice
it.
to meet you as well.
Hey, it was awesome. That was amazing. You guys bringing Chemdog into the state, dude. I'm gonna be at all those shows. I mean, we have Boulder Wellness product at our store as well. We love Boulder Wellness.
Yeah, it's all one little
Yep.
family here for sure. We love Allison and Nick
Yes.
and the whole crew.
The whole
Thanks,
crew.
guys. So yeah, I figured I'd get you down here, smoke all your sauce. You know, that was
that's
my
why we
evil
bring it,
that
bro.
was my evil plan, of course. You know, no. But in general, how's this summer treating you? It's been beautiful actually here. It's crazy down south, lots of fires and shit. But
Oh, yeah.
you guys,
Nothing
you
close
guys,
to us.
you guys do any outdoor growing at all, or?
We're in the process. We have a lot of things lined up really for 2019. Kind of
Gotcha.
like chess pieces, if you will.
Sure. Well, these guys have been working on their project for a couple of years too, and that's
Absolutely.
just the way it goes. You can't go too quick into anything.
I would say officially Green Farm started in January, so we've been just kind of off
right,
and running
so-
as a startup.
Cool. So you're only in 7 months now, right now. So as is, and then and in that time period, though, you have made some acquisitions.
We sure have.
You got yourself
Yes.
set up to. Actually, I need to talk to you guys because I got a whole 450-gallon bed I was looking at the other day. I was
Oh, man, we're gonna hook you
What
up.
should I do with that? I should probably do something with you guys to make more sense because.
So we just bought formerly Victory Hydro. We just bought that. We're changing it to Green Farms Feed and Seed. So we'll hook you up with everything, Adam.
Nice.
Whatever you
Where's
need.
that located?
In Lafayette, Louisville area, right there on South Boulder.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
And that's obviously been there for a while.
It has.
10 years.
Yeah.
10 years.
Nice. And so you guys got to that level where you were like, you know what? We go to the store so much. Let's fucking buy a store. Let's just buy a store.
That you just exactly said what was in my head because I kept saying I'm losing so much money in all these tax things that they make us do, you know,
Yeah.
with the 280Es and things. It was
Right.
just like we didn't know what to do. So as this friend of mine asked me if I was interested in buying his store, and I was like, holy crap! I talked to my accountant. He's like, that would really be great for your taxes. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, yeah, and in
Good move.
And in general, I know a few people that did that where they just built, a small grow shop and were their biggest customers, and they were just like, dude, I'm literally buying the shop. You know what I mean? Every time I go in, I'm buying like everything they got plus. So it's like, why am I not just this fly always
Yeah.
comes back?
Yeah, it's all good, man.
The same
It's
fly.
the year of the fly, it feels like.
Same fly. Fucking fly.
Get the torch.
We want to
Grab the torch.
encourage the whole living soil systems, not just our products as well. So we're bringing in a lot of other products like Dirt MD that's based out of California.
Is that the little packaged one that I got
Yeah.
the
Yep.
sample
Yes,
of?
sir.
What? Tell me
Awesome.
about, tell me about that product because I
Humic.
oh, it's humic and fulvic. That's right. That's why I saw that on the thing and I was kind of like, it's fulvic humic. But is
yeah,
it,
yeah, absolutely. But we want to start teaching other
Tell
people.
them the
that
story
it's
though,
still
Brian.
to
It's
the
a cool
bottle.
story where it came from, where they get it from in India.
To be honest, sir, I don't know the full story. on that.
Oh, okay. I thought you knew it more than I did. Good job.
Okay, so between the
Okay.
two of you, give us a basic lowdown.
It's on the package, so you can read this. So it has something to do. It's the family that we work with out of. They actually live in California now, but their rest of their extended family still lives in India. They've been using this product for, I think he says, 1,000 years. Right? I think they were
Take that with a little grain of basmati
India,
rice,
wait
I'd say.
Wait a second. India, they've been around forever.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
So,
I don't know if he could trace his own shit back 1,000.
Well, I think it comes from this kind of a well that's like a mineralized, some kind of of some type of place where they mine it out of this bog, kind of like old time swamp boggy thing, I guess, or something. And that it's been able to get it from there for thousands of years, they say. So that's what they say.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean it's pretty. There's not that many sources of good fulvics.
High-end fulvic, yeah. BioAg is really the one. Besides that,
Yeah, Full Power.
Full Power, yeah. They're the sort of go-to brand pretty much for most of it. And like for instance, in the New Millennium products, they have there's one. Their Ruby Fulvic product has 9 sources of fulvics. So it kind of hits. There's so you're thinking like 9 different fulvic acids in one fucking thing. So you can hit every bell and whistle possible. Like there's nothing you couldn't have covered. You know what I mean? At that point, so that one's a good one. And it's kind of like you don't realize it until you start reading into it. You're like, holy shit, this thing's got 9 separate fulvic, because usually you got one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Usually not that great of one is the other.
Yeah.
A lot of guys skimp on that.
Oh yeah, it's one of the. And there was another one that was around called Mr. Fulvic. Did you ever have that one?
Mr. Fulvic, I don't know.
You ever heard of that one?
I have, yes, I have definitely.
It was a woman that was like her dad. It was one of these things where I got a sample of it, and it was fucking pretty damn good. It was one of those ones where I was like, okay.
And that was from up in Rollinsville or somewhere up in the mountains?
Yeah, I just met this lady, and she's like, this is my dad made it, boom. And it was like, okay, I'll check it out. And then it was like, actually fucking was pretty on point. Never saw it again. Never saw it again. So you guys, before you got that shop, though, you were kind of picking up a couple brands along the way, or just at least just the one, or?
Yeah, we work with Full On by Grow Switch, which is another fish
hydrolysate.
I can't ever say that. I don't even want to try to say that word right now.
Hydrolyted, or what is it?
Hydrolysate, I think, or something like that.
Hydrogenated?
No.
Okay, yeah, that's a Dr. Mark. Yeah, we call the brain. No, I know exactly what you're talking about, though. The hydrolyzed fish products, basically.
And then some
you
kelp.
broke down with enzymes and stuff.
Kelp.
Heat is really the difference between like an emulsion.
And it's like so you guys use this exclusively on all your grows, or?
Yes.
It grows in the springs.
Yep.
And
they'll be coming into all of we'll use it at all the hemp locations. We'll have it at 2 of our rec locations as well.
That's awesome. So what kind of hemp spots are you guys doing? How many acres?
We have 110 right now. We're actually so late in the season, and we had some problems down there with the fires.
I bet.
So, and then they have a water problem down there this year. Last year they had an overabundance of water. This year they don't have any water.
Right.
So
no, we're in a proper drought right now.
Yeah. With the fires, though, we were going to ship our water from Pueblo, and then the fires came up, and we didn't want to get stuck without having been able to get water. So it was one of those things where we are going to build a greenhouse and just grow over the winter.
Right, when it's down, when the actual water again, water table's back.
Yeah.
So what you'd have to ship your own water in pretty much at this point?
Well, we had water that is on another piece of property we had, so it was only going to cost us, $100, $200 a tanker load. So it wasn't a big, it wasn't that much of a cost, but it was just being able to get it. Yeah, being able to get it through the passes with all the fires was really, that was a concern.
Yeah, I mean that's your Achilles heel on any project like that, where you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
so we have no water. Like now what do we do? You know what I mean?
Crazy. I couldn't believe it when we did it. They told us that. They said, all of a sudden the ditches started shutting down, and we were like, wait a second, we need water. That's like the main thing.
Right.
So so we decided to just kind of not waste too much money and just wait until we built some greenhouses and then grow over the winter and have a stock ready to go out in February, March, where we can, really propagate properly.
You can't put a well on this property, or you have to.
They do have one. We have to expand it, and you have to go through a lot of
It's hard. It's the hardest.
God,
one,
it is the
I've been to
most possible thing is water in Colorado.
Yeah, I went to the
And so
water
you
department,
really-
and it was like you could just tell by the way the place
Yeah.
was set up. As you walked in, you're like, "Oh, this is not looking good." Everyone is like, "What? You think you're gonna do something? You think you're gonna? You think
you're gonna grow something?
You think you're gonna
this
have
year?
water?
Wait, this year?
Because
No,
I
no,
went.
no.
Yeah,
Not
and
this year.
They pulled out the file so slow on me, like they put it on the table so slow that it was just like dramatically telling me that this is not gonna work, right? Pretty much, and they were like, put their hand really. Bah, this is your well. And you can't expand because and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm fucked.
You weren't
basically.
grandfathered in.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so I'm fucked, basically, is what you're trying to say. Yep, pretty much. Like, God damn it. And then it's just like, how do you get around any of this shit? And there's just no way. You know what I mean? You're just like, Colorado's crazy. Like, when I first moved here, I couldn't believe, I was like, set up a little thing out in the back, catching water and shit. And they were just like, what are you doing?
What?
I was like, what do you mean? They're like, you can't do that. You go to jail. I was like, what? Shut the fuck up. And then my landlord came and he got all mad at me and told me to take it down. I was like, but I'm just collecting water from my fucking raised bed fucking garden out back. You know what I mean? That's all I was going to use it for. It wasn't fucking, I wasn't even growing weed with it. That was the funny part. Is I was growing weed inside the house, but I wasn't using that for that. But all the neighbor and the crazy part is that house that I had has a fucking leak in the somewhere in the fucking property, and it was like I was getting 20,000 gallon a month fucking bills and shit. You know what I mean? And I was like, what? No, I only used like 10 barrels, maybe 200. Like at tops, it was like maybe 2,000 gallons, but somehow it was just leaking into the fucking ground. So I was like, I got to deal with it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming through. 100%.
Really nice to meet you,
People.
sir.
Oh man, it was an honor to meet you. I mean, it was literally like I walked in and I saw that. I was like, OMG, that's amazing. Thanks, man. Thank you.
Yeah, bro.
Thanks for everything you've done for the industry, and you don't even know.
Thank you. Later, guys.
Peace. So the riff-raff is left. I got the riff. You guys can hang out if you want to be on the mic, no problem. Whatever you want.
Yeah, come on the mic.
Get on the mic, Max. We got talent in the house. We can't be wasted. We don't want to waste all this.
We're hanging out for a little bit longer.
You got
some food plans.
Okay, that's okay. That's cool. You got some.
We'll take off.
You got some sort of things to destroy left. Whatever.
Right,
What else
exactly.
don't you like?
Oh man.
Oh man, let me get up on your soapbox now.
No.
Let me just tell you guys.
Let me tell you more about these diamonds.
Hey, what about the diamonds?
Diamond Killer. That's your.
You really
name.
do have to give people what they want, man. 'Cause
No,
at
it's
first,
true.
I mean, you guys are obviously you guys are talking the truth, because it was silly when the people are like, "Oh, this is poop soup." It's like,
Right.
really? Do you know what it takes to make this?
Well, not only that too. It's just like the reason that we now appreciate it is because now terpenes is a fucking part of our vocabulary. Whereas a couple years ago, even when we started making shatter and stuff, it wasn't really the focus. It wasn't like, oh, the terpenes. It was like, because if it was, we wouldn't make shatter in the first place because that's when you lose it all. You know, what I mean? It's like
Right.
there goes all your.
You don't get to hold it from the bottom.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the whole shatter thing that we.
And to me, it's a little bit like, when you grow weed and your weed's still too wet to give to anybody else, but it's just enough for you. And then you're like, ooh, this tastes fucking amazing. And then this next day, it's just enough that you lost that little tiny little lemon-esque or something that was there that just vaporized as it dried. You know what I mean? So it's that little weird, like, you're lucky because you're a grower because you get to experience it, but it very rarely makes it to any of the next person. Because if it was that wet, it wouldn't fucking turn into nothing in the bag. It would turn into a soggy mess in the bag. But because you've got it just at that moment where it's like, oh, it's still a little, I got to cut it with scissors, roll it. It's really hard to roll because it's weird, but it's also like, just like clings itself, you know what I mean? And those are like amazing. And
Right.
that joint, you're like, but again, you're like, come back a couple days later and you're like, that's the fucking one, that's the one. And then you're like, oh man, what happened? It lost its true stoners always forget at least one thing.
Yeah, no. If you don't get it right at that window of opportunity, then
Yeah, so I think it's a little bit to do with, it's the same with the terp stuff that the acceptance, you know what I mean? Because in the beginning we were looking for ease of, like, oh, it's a big piece, breaks up into something. Later it was like, but that doesn't taste as good as the stuff that's really messy and horrible and gets all over everything. but maybe then the crystallization part was like, oh, now we have something in between. You can put you actually, instead of it being all just like, blah. But then at the farther it gets separated, then that's when I get a little bit like, okay, well, this just burns my throat. The diamond part, like, it barely has any flavor. And then the other one, but again, the biggest problem is just smoking it. Like, I always had this, like, how am I going to smoke these things?
Right. And like you said earlier, what temperature do you go for? If it's not.
That's what I was just about to ask. What do you guys, I mean, you guys are the experts. What do you guys dab at?
I mean, I guess it depends, not necessarily temperature-wise, but it depends on the nail and how long you wait. I just got a new piece of glass, and that's like a minute 5, minute 10 seconds. But it's so relative because I take smaller dabs, and so if you were to hit bigger, you might want to get on it sooner because that heat's going to dissipate.
Or just be like D and just go hot.
Yeah.
Just go in hot. D money.
So there's
cough.
So there is no formula for it. You got to just get the touchdown, and if your dabs are different every time because you don't have a homogenized product.
Oh, it's such a struggle.
I know.
It's a real struggle, bro.
Colorado problems.
Colorado problems. Yeah, no, it is. It's one of those, but it is nice to like get the most out of whatever you do. Like, it sucks to have something that's super dope and then for some reason it just doesn't satisfy you, and it's like, okay, but separately you could have, but together it would have been the best. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just a pain in the ass. Like,
right?
Because everyone's like, I like to like dab and then dip it, and then it's like. It was all together to begin.
People like the ritual part, I think.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Are you guys getting more asked to do more CBD products?
We are. We have a wellness line that has launched not that long ago, and it's got a lot of CBD in it. It's, in general, more of a homeopathic type line that caters to not the stoner demographic. So it's going to be things like bath salts and topicals, suppositories, that whole realm
bath
of
salts
stuff.
and suppositories with Max.
Yeah.
Fuck diamonds.
Eat the bath salts and
Max says, "Fuck diamonds. I love suppositories."
Let me tell you about it.
I use the diamonds as suppositories.
Right.
You ever heard that Louis C.K. bit where he talks about he took opium suppository? I really listen to a lot of comedy when I trim and stuff, and it's just, that shit cracks me up, man. I don't think I could ever do it, but
Oh yeah.
be tough.
Yeah.
You may have to.
I may have to.
You may have to.
Desperate times.
Shit
call
fucks
for
up
it.
when you get older.
Don't hate it till you try it, bro.
That's why I brought up the Louis C.K. thing, because he just cracks me up.
You're not allowed to laugh to him anymore. It's against the law.
Oh yeah.
By the way, it's so weird.
Oh yeah, I forgot because of his whole.
Isn't it so weird how like they've just extracted all those people, and you're just like, they don't even, like, you can't find it anymore. It's like, what?
How did they do that? Well, it's because they give them a different name. They're not their real name, and they can just control them like that, I guess, right?
Yeah, not even. I mean, it's just more.
That's why Prince changed his name like 8 times with the symbols and all the other things,
Oh yeah,
so he could get out of contract.
rubber band action.
Yeah.
This is like
MacGyver today.
serious MacGyver. You got rubber bands, things strapped together, and little fucking. If I travel with the airport with that, they'd be like, "No way, bro."
Right.
They'd be like, "What is this, Mister Dunn?"
That's Carolyn Kumar right there.
Yeah, it's way too homemade looking.
So what we'd like to do is we'd like to get Incredibles to do grow some organic product, so you guys could have an organic line.
Yeah, absolutely.
We would support you on that with Buffalo and all of our organic products. We would give you a great deal.
Certainly, it's definitely something we're open for talking.
If you're
about.
open,
Yeah,
just a small spot, anything.
Right, exactly. Having commercial grows, there's always opportunity to do experimentation. If you really are capitalizing, then every run you do, you can do a side by side, have a control and a variable, and you can decide that there's something that you want to bring on board.
Well, we use it all in our commercial grows, our licensed grows. So I mean, we can show you proof of concept, so you don't feel so scared. So you can actually see it working. We have live worms, live bugs, live everything, Venus flytraps, all of that fun stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we do a try. We don't spray anything on our plants. No neem, no essential oils, no anything.
Yeah,
nothing.
Would be very open to that. 2 of our 3 facilities are hydroponic. Does your stuff work in those applications?
I mean, we do have things that do work in those applications, yes. But we would like you to try the whole thing. The full Monty.
Yeah. Well, let's do it. Let's talk.
Yeah,
definitely.
we'd love to talk to you guys.
It's one of those things where I think if once you get to that sort of balance point and it's like, and everything's running smooth, it's such a fucking nice feeling because there's even
So clean meds, you know, the stuff that's in it. With you guys being in the concentrate business, you understand how important, and so that's what we're trying to do is really, you know, promote that we could help people grow this natural way without having to spray all these things on it, and then you guys would have the purest, cleanest concentrates.
ready to roll now.
Exactly. That is a significant thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration. When you're a concentrate only, facility, it really limits the sort of things that you can sneak under the radar with flower.
Get a lot of ladybugs in your fucking columns, though. Like,
a couple praying mantis, a ladybug here and there. Come on, it's all protein, right? It's like natural, organic protein.
I'm on board.
100%. But I
For
had
the edibles, you know.
I had it recently where every time I'd be vacuuming up the sort of live shit that I was going to throw in the freezer, right as I do it, I'd look, there's fucking like 2 or 3 ladybugs going around. I'm like, fucked up, bro. You really suck. First one I stopped, and then I fucking reached in there and got it out, you know what I mean? And then I was like looking around and flipping and then I was finally like, all right, I think I'm good. And then sealed it up, and right as it's getting sucked out, it's like, looking at me all like, oh.
We're putting ladybugs in mainly to get the larva. The larva is where you get most of the munch action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what's cool is when they actually start to breed and you get the babies, and then the first time you get them, you're all scared because you're like, oh no, what are these?
Alien.
I have some fucked up alien bugs, you know, and then you're like, oh, that's just a baby. How come it's so big, dude? It's bigger than the fucking that it is, you know what I mean? They're so big as a baby.
And that thing's worth a lot of money, really, to your garden.
Yeah, and they're killing it.
Yeah, it's hard to get ladybugs to reproduce indoors.
Yeah, I've had it. I had it now.
It's
They're
really tough.
They're getting to because the thing that's also cool is I'm on a farm too. So.
Reproduce.
Yeah.
Indoors.
See, I just had the opposite. I had bought like a bunch of praying mantises, right? And I was waiting, like, holy shit, are these things ever gonna fucking hatch? And then they hatched like 3 days before I have to harvest. I'm like, well, now you're fucked because now I can't even find you anymore. And then I took all the ones that didn't hatch, but then it was like they didn't. I don't know. I got kind of a bunk. I got a bunk group. But when they finally hatch, you're like, holy shit.
You need it to be a high temperature. You have to kind of get it sort of high for them to really pop.
Yeah, that's the problem too, because I was in late flowers. Our shit was cold.
Right.
I was like, so the one batch that did come out though, it was like, holy shit, this is awesome. Like 100 little fucking baby fucking praying mantises. You're like, this.
And they fight until the alphas emerge.
Oh, really? Is that how it goes down?
Yeah. And you can actually then take the adult.
We had a bunch
and place it like a dog on each plant. So that praying mantis will know this is my plant.
Yeah, it's like a territorial.
It's pretty cool, man.
That is really cool.
Yeah. And
there's a lot of other bugs.
The big ones are the females too.
The females are the alpha.
Did you see that thing online recently that they had the battling bugs where they were punching each other?
Oh yeah, the big beetle.
The big beetle. Yeah. I think it was Chaz Science.
I don't know.
Somebody
put it up, and I was like, "That is funny, dude." It was like because they were just had these big long arms, and they were just fucking throwing punches, and you were like, "Dude, that looks like a full-on beef going down." Like it was proper to watch. That's worth watching right there.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's entertaining. I had a fish tank that had territorial fish, cichlids, and
cichlids.
You have to rearrange the rocks in there so they don't get too possessive over any one area, and the dynamic is really, really interesting to watch. So you saying that about the praying mantises is fascinating.
There's a lot of fun stuff.
Nature is fascinating.
We use everything live. We use live worms. We own a worm farm.
Mm-hmm.
So you got worms in the actual plants while they're growing, or just when you put lots of them in there
the whole time.
Night crawlers and red wigglers.
Nice. And they're all, you do beds or you do like individual?
Yeah, we have beds.
Yeah, that's I mean, in reality, if you can do beds, you're gonna get the most like bang for your buck, I think, in the long run, just because you can just know that you have like a battery there of fucking nutrients.
It's a long ball.
And we also use them to compost everything down. So we have pretty much a zero waste. We just grind everything up and put it into the worm bed. We don't have to send it off to have it destroyed outside of the facility because we dispose of it in our facility.
Yeah,
I read about that recently. They call that the law of return. Is that what we're talking about right now? Cool.
Recycled living soils.
Yeah, we do a whole closed loop system like you do.
Yeah,
it's like that's what we do. But living, live, you're trying to just reproduce or replicate like the forest and the jungles, where things up here die, fall down here.
Yeah.
fertilize the things here, the plants grow bigger, blah, 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 the whole cycle of life.
Yeah, I've always naturally done that with
the cycle of
houseplants,
life
too.
shit.
Hey,
Yeah.
cycle shit.
Hey,
the microbe shit.
Hey,
Bugs.
bugs over here. No, but it's also, that's why I love beds too, because again, you can actually do that because there's not like leaves fall in between your fucking shit. And by the time you're, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't, you want them to fall and you want everything to keep rolling instead of it being like, anally clean, which is cool but the problem is you just think about like a kid who you protect and he gets super sick later, and that's what the plants end up doing too, because they don't have, like, I know my plants are way more resilient when they actually can deal with just life in general, instead of being like, here, spray it, do this, baby it, and then all of a sudden it just gets one thing and it's fucking dead. And that's kind of where I now, like at my mom's place, where it's exactly where I was saying, where I see these baby ladybugs, I'm like, oh, this is great, dude. It's like, I'm not even have to buy any more because now they're just like, they're literally all around the top of the smart pot. Oh, I have a smart bed, so it's like a 450 gallon bed.
Yep.
And
That's what we grow in a 4x8
I put 3 plants in
bed.
there. That's my 3 plants in that, and it works.
Grass
perfect.
roots, fabrics.
So you putting worms in there and everything?
Not last time, but I will this time.
So you use the red wigglers for the top part and the African night crawlers for the medium.
Nice.
And
Yes.
man, it's a game changer.
Sweet.
For everybody out there, it really is a game changer.
And it's so
biology.
It's and it's I mean it's
you can't argue with
it's the
that.
same when you first time you get predators and you put them in the room and you're like, you shut the door and you're like, cool, now get to work, you know what I mean? And then you're like up there doing the thing and you come back and literally, if you hit them at the right time, it's like, wow, they did fucking some. They literally did in like 2 days, shit's turned around, you know what I mean? And you're like, huh, amazing, and. Because the problem is we're so fucking, we want everything instant, you know what I mean? And you think you always think you're doing a good thing spraying when you're doing it, but in the long run, when you look back, you're like probably doing more damage than good, just because you're weakening that fucking plant from ability to do what it does,
Right, yeah, you want to give it its own, its own faculties at full capacity so it can.
So and we find that when you're growing, and again, I've grown in every medium, every different way. I've grown for, 30 plus years. So I've found that you get a better terpene profile. You get a better, you get more cannabinoid profile is higher and better, and everything is just seems different when you grow organically.
Right.
And then people say, well, look at all this resin, look at all this, look at this 32%. And it's like, yeah, but that was THC, pretty much all THC. You didn't have any CBNs or, non-registered CBN, CBG, CBIs, all of those things, we love because we're in it more for the medicinal side to for cancer patients and for people that can actually, get some help, epilepsy, all of these other things that people actually are, benefiting from this. And so our whole approach is to do that as clean as possible because we don't want to put any other chemicals or any other problems into that plant that's going to be used for somebody that has, some medicinal problem that they want to use it for. We don't want to add other problems to them. So that's why we believe that, we're trying to educate people to understand that you can do this in your commercial grow. We can help you. We can provide those, the products that can work. And the other thing is, if something happens and there's a mistake or there's one plant gets powdery mildew or something, we cut the plant down. We cut all the way back down to the clone, to the mom. We don't keep any of that plant again because it's systemically inside. So we understand that, and we don't try to cover it up with a bunch of chemicals. And we figure that will save us in the long run by doing that. It might hurt us for some strains that we worked hard to get or whatever, but it just isn't worth it to us. So that's why, like I said, we would love to work with you guys and give you the tools to, try it and see if it works
Yeah,
for you.
I'm all about it. I'm glad you brought something up because this is a debate that goes on for a long time.
I love these. Let's debate.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to start that.
No, it's okay because
it's intelligence.
I'm not here to.
He's gonna ruin everything. Ruin it all, man.
No,
Ruin everything.
Is this a diamond thing?
No, this is a systemic thing.
Yeah, okay.
So
that's what I thought.
So the debate is whether or not mildew is a systemic problem or whether it's something that can be treated and eliminated. Yeah, this is a long thing, and the debate continues to go.
It's like I would say my analogy would be I would think it's kind of like a virus where
herpes.
like
It's herpes.
HIV or whatever,
it's herpes.
where they came up with something that will suppress it and you don't see it anymore, but the gene or whatever is still there. That's the way I feel about it.
Yeah.
And I would rather not have to put anything on there. Just like I said, we have a solventless MIP.
Right.
So we do everything solventless.
Yeah.
So we're trying, if we're going to do it solventless.
We need to talk about something too after.
Okay. Maybe I made a mistake, but I'm saying I do make mistakes. I promise you I make mistakes. But we are just trying to pursue that level.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that our level is for everybody in the whole industry, because there's a lot of people out there that just want weight. They want 36% THC. They want whatever that is. That's it. They don't care about anything else. And I like the full spectrum side, where I will smoke a 14% THC strain and I will be blitzed.
It's crazy.
Literally
that's so true. I mean,
blitzed.
that's
I mean, I
valid.
can't even think straight when I smoke this one strain. And I'm like, my whole body feels better. I have like this tingly feelings, all that stuff, like in like your synapses or whatever it's called. So I like that. I like to feel really buzzed. Like what Adam was talking about earlier, where sometimes you just keep smoking, you don't get high. That's what we believe that there's all these other cannabinoids and terpenes that just blow you away when you do, when you smoke or add those in, even you were saying.
Now everything is so lab tested and all that bullshit. So that's why everyone's like, oh, you can't smoke it because it's not this. And people come in and buy. It's how people buy alcohol too. You roll in and they go, how much was this got? Oh, I'll take it. You know what I mean? It's like they don't really think about how it tastes or flavor. Or if it's gonna
I want to
burn.
hear more on your point.
Who the root the everything killer? Kill it. Destroy it.
So here's the debate, and I think one of the things I personally am on the opposition side, but I'm open to persuasion. I'm a very open-minded person, and I want to grow as a person and grow weed.
Right.
So the idea is, the reason that I ask is because I don't know how necessary it is to go all the way back to the clone or the mother and destroy all of those if it's not a systemic problem. Now, the reason that this is all my assumption, my opinion right now. I think that a bunch of people jumped on the systemic idea because there's products to treat powdery mildew that are systemic applications. They go inside the plant, but not because the powdery mildew is necessarily in the plant. They're just trying to give it resistance from within to deal with it. And again, I'm going to take another fish tank reference, actually, if you've ever had one.
I'll take one fish tank reference.
You're only allowed one, 2 mulligans.
So it's kind of like ick in a fish tank, if you're familiar with it, or staph infection in the world. And so ick, in a way, is similar to staph. What happens is that there's fish, they can get it, and it looks like little air bubbles or pieces of salt that are on, just the body of the fish. And it's a disease. It's been a while since I've had a tank, so, maybe don't quote me on that. Maybe it's a virus. But it doesn't affect every fish in the tank. It's only the ones that have weakened immune systems and are susceptible to it. Yeah. And the idea is that herpes, this ick problem is everywhere in the tank, just like staph is on my skin, it's on the table. But the people that get staph infections are the people with compromised immune systems, and they don't have the internal ability to fight off what it needs. And I think this goes back to organic growing, where if you give the plant everything it needs to operate at 110%, it's firing on all its cylinders, then I could see that being a much stronger plant and having a way better chance of dealing with, a fungal infection.
That's exactly what we do. That's what we're
not feeding the plant, though. I will say that.
No, yeah, we're feeding the soil.
The soil is really what the immune system is coming from.
Right. But so then the idea is that if you can, the spores are everywhere. Spores in general are everywhere. Even if your garden's clean, if you're growing commercially in Denver, there's a dude right down the street from you that is growing that has powdery mildew. Or has 5 problems that you don't want.
Well, so all of my information is coming from Dr. Tom Handwerker, PhD from Cornell. Okay. He works with me.
Okay.
So he's the one that basically has explained all that to me. Now I'll explain to you kind of what you just said, and which makes very good sense to what he has explained to me, is just like not every kid gets chickenpox, but it's in their. They could have the virus in them, and it doesn't come out and
Yeah.
show to the world, right? Or they don't. It's other thing, right? Just you can go off of other things besides some other viral, like HIV. You might doesn't have AIDS or whatever, but it has HIV, and it doesn't. You don't look like you're sick, but you
Right.
have it in your body, and then if your immune system could get compromised, then it shows. So
Yeah.
that I believe in the same thing that you're saying. I think it's all this. I think what you're saying is almost exactly the same.
Right.
It's just that that's what we do is, and going back to the forest or jungle reference, is that all of those big huge trees and all those stuff was all, nobody went out there and watered it and sprayed neem and did all these crazy things to it to make it grow really big, right? And that all had to do with in the forest floor.
Yeah.
And that was the deep composition of the fallen trees and the leaves that came down and the dead animals and the dead insects and the dead microbes and everything that was the circle of life, the
Yeah.
rhizosphere.
Yes.
So that's what we promote, and then again, which we hope does for you as an extractor, gives you very clean, pure, all of the terpene profiles, all of those, and it doesn't have to be interfered with by some outside chemical, something that adds to that testing. So, because
Certainly.
we're all on these testing things, and it's like something could show up, and you don't even know how that happened, right? And so we just believe that we're not going to put anything, because so many people in this industry, and I've been in it from day one, and everybody tells you, this is a great thing. Remember Guardian or whatever told us how great it was, and we all used it, and then we all tested hot on a test sometime or something,
It was
and
in
you're
it,
like,
yeah.
what the heck?
Ivermectin,
It's organic.
Yeah,
and
it's organic, never has one thing. So we were
Ivermectin,
duped.
that's right.
We were duped at the grow stores. That was one reason we bought a grow store just recently. Is that we want to try to change
They had a lot of
that.
Guardian in the basement. And you were like,
Yep, they had.
the shit,
yeah,
right?
I think that was thrown away pretty fast, but
I'm
not
buying
from
this
us
bitch.
either.
I want all that Guardian.
Yeah, it's still there. No, but the reason that we want to try to change that up is that we believe that people have been misled a lot at grocery stores. So they've been told things because of the big, huge companies. We're not supposed to say names, right? Big, huge companies.
No, it's
go
very
in
much like
there,
very much like a doctor. It's like how doctors
go
have been
in there,
compromised.
yeah, lobbyists, the
Like,
government,
okay,
all
I
of that
don't
stuff.
really need this,
It's
but
the same thing.
You get money if you sell more of that than that. So,
Exactly. We get a bigger bonus or commission or whatever for pushing this product, and they didn't even know it was in it.
Yeah.
So that's the way we kind of are looking at, like, we want to bring it back to where if somebody comes into our store and they want to know how to not grow with synthetics, we have classes, we have education.
Awesome.
We actually sponsor a lot of events that do that with Denver Normal and different other events, and with Adam, because he really likes organics. So we want to put it out there that we're willing to teach people how to do it.
Yeah.
So the scary thing for most people is, this is organics, my house is going to smell like piss and shit and blah, blah, blah. And I can't do that to my house.
Right.
And we say, that's because you're pouring all these crazy things. If you just do the soil and make it this way and put a bunch of bugs, and we use soil mites and springtails and, all kinds of other things besides just the worms. But this is what we want to show people.
Are springtails good for your rhizosphere?
Yes,
I did
they're
not know.
As long as there's
awesome.
organic matter.
Yeah,
for
they
them
have to
eat.
break down. They're gonna eat thing, or they're the biggest, or what I was told is they're the largest. Or they break down more organic matter per size than anything else on the planet.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Cool.
So that was one thing that when we put a lot of cover crops and everything in, so those are dying and falling down in. Those things are decaying, and that's what the springtails are eating.
I feel naive thinking that those weren't beneficial, actually.
They're great.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, they poop and pee a lot.
To
They
be
eat a
honest,
lot
when I
and they
first
poop
got
and
them,
pee.
I freaked out and threw it away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
does.
I wish I would have known.
Right now, hindsight.
And then you see the little red mites going around, and you're going, "Oh my God, I got mites now! Oh my God!" And then they're the good mites too. And then you got the hypoaspis, and there's so many good bugs that people would be scared of if they saw it in their stuff, right?
Yeah, we got a couple beneficials we use. We use Neosilius californicus.
Yes, Californicus.
Aureus insidiosus. I don't know if I'm pronouncing these right.
Me neither. I can't pronounce any of them. I butcher
Close
it.
enough.
Right. I'm trying to think of what the third one is.
The Swarovski.
No, it's not ringing.
Permisia, the.
If I hear it, I'll know it. Do you know, Telly?
No, you've already named the two, I know.
Yeah.
All right. Oh well.
That's good. At least you guys are doing something, right?
Yeah, yeah,
We
we're
want to
trying to do
promote
the
that.
best of
That's all
both
cares.
worlds,
You know,
right.
we just want people to start trying to think about it. I mean, most people go to Whole Foods or they buy stuff that's organic when they go to Safeway or whatever.
Yeah.
And we just feel the same way. If you're going to put this in your body, if you're going to eat a candy bar, right?
Yeah.
I'd rather have it be natural or organic. And
Well,
if I'm
especially-
going to use a suppository,
Right.
right?
Of course. Exactly.
If I'm doing that, man,
Diamond-
I gotta have it
diamond
like
encrusted
totally
one, too, at
organic.
that, so-
Totally organic.
I need organic hand wash for
Yes, like,
afterwards. Bronner's, Dr. Bronner's.
Dr.
soap.
Bronner's.
Splash.
Tell you where we at with
Yeah, I
Steve.
see Telly's ready to go. He was like, we got to eat. Look at him. He's fading away.
Yeah, no, I think we got to roll. But gentlemen,
Sounds good.
it was
Well,
a
thanks for
pleasure.
coming through.
So neat to meet you guys. We
Yeah.
have all your products, so we have all your products in our store. So we were really excited to
We'll
see.
do we'll exchange info and let's make something happen.
Oh, absolutely. And now you gotta do is talk to Adam. He's my agent.
All right, easy enough.
Really nice to meet you, Max.
Of course.
Yeah, brother.
Thanks,
All right,
Max.
guys.
100%. Thanks, Telly, also for coming through.
Gentlemen, have a good afternoon.
Once again, the incredible guys are God. They're so incredible. Those guys. Incredible.
And they got the vendor girl that I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but she comes to our store all the time. She's super. Colorado Springs.
Tiffany?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she comes to our store all the time. She's awesome. We say big shout out to Incredibles.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, man.
Thank you guys, 100%. And then there were two.
Uh-oh.
So have you ever,
dun,
you've never grown with worms and the springtails and the whole, like, system?
Not like no, not really the full program. I mean, I would do, we always had ladybugs. We always brought in like, I tried the lace wings.
Oh yeah, lace wings. The larvae are awesome.
They
The
were
yeah.
good for a spurt, but then they left a mess. They leave a mess behind. You're like, these guys are messy. I want them to leave less of a mess.
Okay.
But yeah.
Just get a little praying mantis. And that would
Oh, I
take
know,
care
and that
of
was the
it.
thing. I was all stoked about it too, and then it would bum me out because it was like, I can't even. I tried to catch them. I caught like one or two, but it was like, too late. They were just.
They were all
spreading
over our floor. I was in there yesterday at the grow, and they were just everywhere on the floor. I was trying to walk around them. It was wild. I was like, "What in the hell?"
Yeah, I mean that's definitely awesome to have, just because like even when you see one in the wild, you're always, as a kid, that was like the coolest fucking thing ever.
It looks like an alien, right? They look just like the alien head.
They really.
But when they get older, they're not really going after what we're going after, right? They're kind of like taking pop shots here
yeah,
and there.
they're more of like a generalist, I would say.
Because when they're larvae, they must be chowing like maniacs, right?
Yeah, when they're little, they're brown and they kind of hang out in the soil more.
Yeah.
And then when they start to move almost to like a teenager age,
Yeah.
they'll turn pink and kind of do both leaves and soil. And then when they become an adult, like I was saying, they turn green.
Yeah.
And then you can literally just place them.
Yeah.
And then it's like a little dog.
It's pretty. That's
Take
pretty
care of
dope.
your plant.
Yeah, that's dope. And
But it does eat everything. It's like what I think what you're asking was,
Yeah, like, I mean,
what does it go after?
the
And
alpha of
it'll still eat. Like if you, I'm not sure if it eats the russet mites. They're pretty
Too
small.
small. Yeah.
But anything spider mite size or whatever,
Yeah.
they'll eat those. If they'll just look like that's like French fries or whatever.
Exactly,
you know?
that's what I'm gonna say. They just, but they're not. Because,
That's like
because what I always bummed me
buffalo
out-
wings.
What I always bummed me out was,
Appetizer.
ladybugs are like so cool because you don't feel grossed out when you have them because you're like, these are cool, but then you never really get to see the action. Like it doesn't even, like you have to really pay attention because they just look like they're like my mom's dog where they just walk right past the food every time, and you're like, what? It's right there, dude. Look at it. It's waiting for you. They're just like, whatever. But they do it at some point in time. It's just they're definitely not like attack, But apparently, I mean, when you see them, they never do nothing but they're grazing the whole time, you think.
Yeah, they get out of the bag and they're usually trying to procreate. Trying to do it.
Oh yeah, get down to it. But in general, how much you guys hit it every 2 weeks with most things and kind of keep it up to date, or because that's what I always noticed
I
was
don't even
it.
know if every 2 weeks is, it's kind of more just like how your system is going. Like if you start to
Right.
see that
If
it's
you,
just a few-
because we're actually growing we're actually trying to cultivate everything in our grow. So we have worm beds in there that have rove beetles, that have springtails, they have worms, they have the hypoaspis. We just basically load it up, and then it's a battle royal. We just like the only the survival of the fittest. The ones that live are so badass. It's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and at a certain point, obviously, when there's less to eat, then there's going to be like die off of certain ones. That is
Right, but that's what we do is we kind of keep the we put the cover crop and everything in there, so there's a lot more spaces for the ladybugs and everybody to lay their eggs because they lay them up under the leaves and things like that, under the blades of grass. So there's a lot more. And we don't ever change our soil. We leave it in the bed. We don't ever move it, so it's always there. Same soil, same. Every harvest, it's growing right there. We don't add stuff for veg and add stuff for bloom. We do a couple teas at the beginning when they're in their veg, state that we would put in there, but it's still, it'll still be in the soil when it goes into bloom as well.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, when your initial mix, though, are you guys putting like really heavily amending in the very, very beginning, or is it like?
It's really more the worms and top
More,
feeding. So
yep.
you'd have like lava rock, like a base mix, a little bit of Canadian sphagnum peat moss,
Right.
vermicompost, and then a high-end compost.
Yeah,
Cool.
the buffalo compost.
So just pretty,
The
Exactly.
buffalo.
so pretty light to begin with, in a sense, actually.
Yeah,
Not-
I mean, less is more with that stuff, and then you kind of build as your plant starts to grow.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the first grow you're gonna kind of be disappointed with. That's just the truth of it.
Yeah,
Like, if you're really going all
it's-
the way and trying to build that up and not
Because you don't want to
cheating and,
overdo
like,
it. The
Yeah.
problem is that a lot of people just try to throw everything in there, and then they start burning, and their plants look like crap, and they're like, organics suck. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you used way too much. I mean, you didn't need all that. We make a product, Soil Alive, and all you have to do is top dress that in, with some of the down to earth. We really love down to earth products as well.
The BioLive and the soil.
BioLive and the Soil Alive. We mix that in and top dress that in, and it just it slow releases over the next couple of weeks out, and the worms will be eating breaking down those decomposing cover crop that's in there, and some of the decomposing cannabis leaves that that we put back in after we weigh them out. We have to go through a lot of process in our system, so it's weird. But we're able to keep it all in the building. We don't take any waste outside other than our trash that we throw away, during the day, like paper towels and gloves or something like that.
So when you're
We
saying
try
like you have
we try
to
to reuse everything.
so when you take leaves off and have to go weigh it and then bring them back and then use them, but would I mean? Is
it has to
just-
go
is
into
it-
the other room and to be weighed. We have to weigh it out, and you have to. All your waste has to be it has to be tagged and has to be accounted for.
Right.
So when we pull our leaves are brown or dying or anything like that, we take those off, and then we go to put them together, put them on the scale, weigh it up, and then we after we log that into the metrics, then we are able to put that either in our worm beds, or we're able to put it back into the top dressing into the beds.
Right. Seems like a long process.
Isn't that weird? Yeah, it's like, and we
But
want
once-
to do it the
it's
right
like
way.
pushing a snowball up a hill. That's
Yeah,
why it
yeah,
takes a little
yeah.
bit. But then I promise you, Adam, when that snowball starts to go down the hill,
Right.
So easy.
The work day is comical. Especially
Yeah,
if you're just
couple
this is more
days
like
you have to water instead of cocoa.
in a
You're
commercial
watering
setting, it's
every
gonna be a lot
day.
different. But for like the average home
Changes.
grower trying to grow their own stuff, yeah, go back outside, enjoy life. Quit worrying about pH. I don't worry about pH anymore.
Nope,
PPMs.
Right.
The worms take care of all of that stuff.
Yeah.
The soil food web takes care of all that stuff for me.
So like the first, and that's I think what fucks people up in the very beginning is that when they put it all together,
patient.
and then the first
We also add
Couple time-
fungus in there too, fungi, and so we're using bacteria and fungus. So there's mycorrhiza, which in the hyphae, and people. That was the other thing I was going to say earlier when they were here, is that most people will throw their pot away because they see this white moldy substance on the top, and they just think that that's horrible.
Yeah.
It's going to kill them,
Right.
and it's actually really, really good, and they should have never thrown their soil away. So that's some of the things that we want to educate people on, and we don't want them to feel like, every one of us, even in synthetics or in organics, we've made mistakes. That's how you learn. I mean, that's what helps you get better, is you have to go through that personally. And if you do happen to make a mistake, then and if you don't, then that you didn't need to, that you did it right.
That is the biggest problem nowadays, is that a lot of people are under pressure though, because they are working for
Yes.
somebody who's like, if they fuck up.
That's why I went and
their
started
job-
my own
their
company.
job's on the line,
That's
so-
exactly why I own my own licenses now, because
and
I
that's
was
fair,
getting,
right?
told I couldn't do stuff.
Well, it's fair that the commercial growers, if you've been growing that way, and on your rails, and you have it so dialed in, like the gentleman. I mean, I understand why it goes in one year and out the other, because this is your style, and I totally get that. And I don't want us to ever come across that like.
Yeah,
this is
we
the only
own
way.
a grocery store and we'll sell you
If you grow cannabis,
everything.
you know, I want-
So whatever you want to buy, but we
Sure.
believe there's a certain way that would help the environment, that would help everybody's health, that would help everything, and we believe that way would be better. That's the way we feel. You know, we don't want to tell somebody that they have to change from 20 years of growing if they don't want
to turn a lot of people's ears is price, because people start to realize like, oh shit, so what don't I have to buy? You know what I mean? And if you can compare that on a scale that makes sense to a lot of people, then you might get them to turn their style.
And we also do our own ferments, so we would teach them how to go and grow the thistle that's a weed in their backyard that has those big purple flowers on the bulbs on top.
Right.
That thing's awesome. The dandelions that's in your backyard, they're awesome. They have their dynamic accumulator. They have all of the NPKs that you're looking for in your bottles.
Right.
We can do that for you in real live plants. We grow comfrey. We grow pumpkins. We grow thistle. We grow lemongrass. We grow all of this in our grows, and we make our own nutrients, and we compost everything in the grows. So we don't do anything outside, and people are saying can't be done, and they've been telling us that for years, and it's
Right.
being done.
Nice. And
Being
so,
done.
so growing those indoor, because that's one of the things that's also funny to watch is cannabis growers. A lot of them are really good growers, but then they can't do nothing else. Like they can't grow anything else. They're just like locked in on this one fucking plant. Do you guys have? How do you separate? Like, what kind of grow? Like for instance, like lemongrass. How is that for indoor growing? Because it doesn't seem like a very easy.
All of that would be done through the microbes. I mean, almost everything that you want to grow for cannabis can be grown in a living soil,
Yeah,
including
it
aloe.
all
So
really
you're growing it in the same beds, though. I'm saying.
Oh, I
No,
gotta show you these-
separated. Yeah.
Separated, okay.
Especially, I mean, I learned from your show that like the bucking or what's that comfrey, the special comfrey,
The like a bucket.
the balking or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was Mitch that was talking about that. But that opened my eyes when I started being like, wow, there really is food everywhere for cannabis. And when I first walked into a grow store, you know, they act like this is like unicorn pea, and we have to pay. The more money you spend back then, it was like the better grower you were or something.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
if
that
you're
was
on
the
advanced
problem.
program
Running
or
house
whatever.
and gardens, getting all the shooting powders and all the fancy, right?
Oh,
All the
thousands
cool
of
stuff.
dollars, and you have 4 plants in your closet.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
what?
Well,
How much return is this going to give me?
I mean, there's the
How
thing
many
is the industry.
time I got to turn this over?
The industry is definitely. It's one of those things where it's only when you get to a certain scale is it even worth a lot of times buying stuff just because you're like, oh, okay, now I guess it makes sense now. But if you're doing it, it's like cooking. It's like going to cook one meal and having to buy every herb you need for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's like, wow, that's a really expensive meal. All of a sudden, like it turned
Right.
into like it went from like the cheapest, easiest thing to like I needed to buy 5 different herbs. They all cost me $3 to $5 each, and I just spent like fucking $25 on that, and then I need the meat. You know what I mean? It's like okay, that was expensive, but the idea is, yeah, you can cook 20 fucking times, but you get sick of that recipe, so you're like, well, that was a waste of money, but it wouldn't be a waste if you get to that scale, you know what I mean, where you're actually either using it multiple, once you're on the 3rd run or 4th run, you're like,
Yeah.
okay.
It takes about a year, I would say, and then you're going to be singing its praises after that. You
Sure.
know? So as long as you're willing to notice that it's a long ball play, I feel like I encourage people to try it. I encourage people to read or follow Dr. Elaine Ingham's videos and Jeff Lowenfeld's videos just
Right.
to educate yourself because
Both guests on the show.
exactly that's where I learned that. So
Both former guests. Yeah, no, great. Yeah, I was all bummed. I thought you guys were giving me those books last time. I was like, yeah, I got those books. I was like,
Oh, I didn't know you didn't know. We'll get
Yeah,
you the
no, I'm
books.
just kidding.
Yeah,
I was just kidding. I was like, oh, I thought it was all mine.
I would want you to read those
We
books.
wanted you. Yeah,
sure.
I'll buy you 10 of them if you get them out. If you
Yeah.
just
They're
get
great.
them
I mean,
out.
they're great. It's just because my wife was asking about it. I was like, oh yeah, that's the Bible right there. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
the trilogy for sure.
Yeah, and such a great guy too. That's one of those things.
The
Absolutely.
Lord of the Roots.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you hang out with him too, it's like he gets so fucking excited. There was a woman at some booth that was showing a process for doing stuff on the field, and he was so excited, and he was just like, you got to see this thing.
I love that
He
he's
did that at our
a weed
booth in
nerd
Palm
too. You know?
Springs.
He really.
Right.
Only the one thing I thought was really funny when he was telling me is that he pees in his plants or pees in his plants. Sorry.
Oh,
What do you
too
think
much,
about
too much
that?
information.
I thought he said that on the show.
He may. Yeah, you know, he did. He did.
Oh, I
he
did.
did.
I don't want to reveal anything, there,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
thought that
Go
was
watch-
kind of a weird
go watch the YouTube.
nitrogen.
Yeah, a little nitrogen fixing action here. Right? It's,
Big
I mean,
time.
it depends on your diet, obviously, hugely.
Urea.
And
Yeah, exactly.
I know a few people that are that swear by it, bro. You know, but and
That's that hippie magic right
I have
there,
to
right?
say, I've
Secret
been guilty.
sauce.
I've been guilty of just doing some outdoor plants for fun once in a while here and there. Like can't hold it.
So
Whatever.
tell me, does it work?
No, I didn't really. I didn't.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay.
No, but it was it's definitely one of those things where I'm sure it has some short. I mean, I think if you peed on the same fucking plant every day for like the whole cycle, it would not be good. And you'd fuck that shit up.
I wish
you know?
my diet was good enough that
You know
could
what I mean?
probably.
You'd fuck
yeah.
that shit up. That would be awful.
Yeah.
It'd be salted out and whacked out or something like that.
Probably.
But I could see maybe if somebody did it once in a while, a little dab, a little you know, might have some benefit.
Salt.
You know.
Maybe we could ask him one day what it.
Oh yeah, we can definitely get him back on that for that one. Well, I mean, it's great that you guys have that direction because that's one of those things. It's what I preach more than I do, obviously, but at the same time, it's just hard. I know I know the handicap that people have where it's like
sure.
letting go of control. Like pH is kind of like you feel like you're doing something every time. Like at least I'm doing something. I know that, and I know I'm giving them that at that. And if things go wacky, it's something inside, and then it's usually it's mechanical or something, overwatering, et cetera, whatever that problem may be. But you just have to go back and figure it out. Where I do love the idea of like a normal garden where, like not a cannabis garden, but a regular garden where shit shouldn't be too out of whack once you have enough actual living help. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And do you have any? Do you guys have any other secrets for like helping things replicate more, or is there like, because I know they have the ladybug houses sometimes you can get.
So actually, one of the main things I would say we love to teach people is that you can get a few worms for yourself, make sure that it's an organic avocado. You cut an X into the avocado, almost like a potato, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of squish it a little bit, and then you stick that down into the medium itself. The worms that are down there will come up because of the fats.
Mm-hmm.
Worms are hermaphrodites, so the goal is to get them to touch. As soon as they touch, that avocado almost becomes a fraternity house, if you will, and they reproduce like crazy.
Huh.
And I really think that since worms are
Fraternity
expensive,
house.
it's a fraternity house for
avocado
sure.
fraternity
So you can
house.
take like 4 or 5 of them and put them in like a 25-gallon
Now you have
pot.
a
You
So
can just
now
make
you
your
have-
own worms.
now you're like a
we own a
university.
worm farm.
And now you're improving on
And we're
nature.
giving you this information, if that tells you anything.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
We just want people to grow good beds.
We want
And
we
if you
want it to
wanna-
be clean.
Yeah, I mean, go back to nature, read
And
the
if you
books that we're
can't do it
talking about.
yourself, you can come to the stores and the places that we, either have our products that use our products, or we can show you and tell you where those places are, or you can come to our stores. We own our own.
What's your favorite tea sort of? Do you have like a prepackaged thing, or like Bounty, or any of those kind of companies that people are already familiar with? Or
I really think mix it up. So I like a Ollie Mountain fish compost.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, our compost teas, and then you can
Some blue corn, malted barley.
teas,
We do a bunch of
sprouted
different,
teas.
sprouted teas.
right.
So we do at different times. We're doing different things.
Sweet, and I mean, I think that's like what I love when you have a good tea plants. Just that's when you get the instant happiness.
That's
like
when you get the praying leaves. Right?
Yeah, and that's when you're like, oh, okay.
That's when you're like, okay,
I'm
what
doing
else can I
something.
do?
I'm doing something good, I guess. You know what I mean? So
Didn't have to pH.
yeah, right. And then
Doesn't that sound nice? Never having to worry about that.
it does, of course. Now, do you guys have? You guys use like Vortex brewers, or do you have what kind of brewing?
Well, we have used Tate's brewer.
Is that
The
Key
Key
to
to
Life?
Life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Use theirs.
I got one of those.
The Vortex brewer, I've used that before.
A simple 5-gallon bucket with a strong. You have to have a strong pump. I mean,
Right.
you can't just buy like a little aquarium pump because it's
Yeah,
not strong.
it's got to
enough.
move.
Lot-
it,
lot
move
of
it around.
variation.
Yeah, move
Like
it a little.
if you can get the water to gyrate, that's probably where you're at. And then
Mm-hmm.
a little yucca extract. And I will say,
Yeah.
what do you think? Speaking of Dr. Lane Enyam, she talks about where cannabis already has so much bacteria thriving in the soil itself that adding molasses, to a tea is almost like pointless because you're just going to grow the alphas, if you will, of the shotgun approach of the microbes that we're trying to add, and then it's almost like you're giving an unfair advantage those microbes that thrive.
The ones you're
on the
trying to
sugars.
grow, yeah, you're trying to do
Right, instead of
the
the
certain
fungal.
microbes, and you want those to thrive, and you don't want I think what he's saying is you don't want to add it into the soil where there's these other ones that you're not wanting to grow as fast. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're trying
Yeah,
to
I
say?
don't,
You're feeding everything a little.
You can
Right,
almost
you're
kind of like
feeding them
speed
all,
up the
yes.
wrong ones
Yeah,
because you
you're-
took
yep.
the time.
It's almost like on hydro when you have like clear tubing and you have nutrients and
Yeah, the
you
sun-
forget
the
that, and then
sunlight.
you got the light and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, why are my shit turning green? And you're like, well, we have to eliminate one of those fucking factors and you might be able to pull it off. But besides that, yeah, you're fucked up. And then again, yeah, something like that, or you're just feeding the wrong one at that point. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Or potentially, I guess it's more
Yeah,
like the potential.
It
is
could
there.
be. I mean, it's not saying every time it's horrible, but if you have the wrong ones in there, and that you just, the
I think also with the molasses stuff too, it's like people like it's so funny in NorCal. There was a certain time, at that time of year, and the truck would pull into town, and it'd just be like people running up and everyone would be filling up their jugs and
With
going
the-
back, and it's like it just people.
we really stopped using it into flour. It has when that's exactly what he was saying. It's feeding the bacteria, and when we're trying to
turn it like
feed the
anaerobic or something like
fungus.
that.
Well,
Almost.
yeah. Well,
Or,
the potential. I mean, it's really more the potential. As long as you have a strong pump gyrating, you probably got enough oxygen in there. But
Right.
yeah,
And that's the key, I guess, right there is just to get the right
oxygen
Yeah,
is king. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, teas are great though because they definitely, like I said, it's like when the first time you're like, okay, I see something popping off the way it should be. So what is the name of your tea that you guys? Because you have different batches or
The
it's all-
buffalo.
Compost tea.
Yeah, the
It's
compost
plant
tea.
food tea is the way what it says on the
the little
front
pellets
page.
with the ones with the little things, or is it the
Little tin,
The
little tin.
tin.
little
cans.
pellets is
Yeah.
just the compost itself, which you could use
not the
for
pellets,
tea.
but the bags, the little tea bag kind of things? Didn't you have those too?
Ours is in a tin. I know which ones you're talking
Yeah.
about, but
We
yeah,
used to
ours-
have. They used to have those.
Okay,
back
those are the old
before,
ones.
Yeah, back before we
I
got
think I still
there.
have one of those somewhere. I still have
We,
one of those. I got one.
We eliminated a few products that we didn't think were right for what we were trying to go for, but I mean,
Yeah, I
it
brought
I brought
wasn't.
that for you, but
Okay, so I'll have to go down for sure. So that's under the Buffalo label. But then you guys are doing any other like for the now that you got the grow shop, are you guys going to do?
Oh yeah, we're gonna have everything.
So we're out reaching out to
Right,
Dragonfly
that's
Medicine.
what. Yeah, we just talked to DEM, Dragonfly, Earth Medicine, and then we're trying to. We're actually reaching out to everybody in the community and asking them what kind of products maybe they've seen out there that we don't know about. Because a lot of organic, natural products are like small craft. It's kind of like a craft beer, right? So that's what we're trying to find. Maybe there's some more stuff out there that we would like to know about that might be somewhere we could bring in and put it in the store. So yeah, we're open. But
we
we
have
wanna-
like an Beza,
Oh,
which
yeah,
is a
we
unique
have
product
Beza. Oh,
from
man, Rich.
Rich, yeah.
Yeah, big shout out.
So
to
that kind of stuff.
Beza. We love him. We
Got
use his
local
in all of
Colorado
our-
guys that,
Yep,
that do
local.
it right. That's what we're after.
Yeah. We do
Tell me
it,
how you
yeah.
use that in your program because that seems like
Oh,
this ends in the
man.
spectrum a little bit when you're using it because it's just like it's kind of
So it's a
This is
tea.
for the commercial
It-
side.
it's a tea.
the tea products. Okay.
So this is you asked. This is all tea. This is everything that we make with from Rich from Ambeza. He has veg tea, which is has other different things than the bloom teas. Then he has 4 different bloom teas, and then he also has a microbe mix that is amazing. I mean, literally, now I wasn't the one that
You
tested
guys are
it.
carrying Rootwise, I assume.
Rootwise too. We haven't got his stuff
would
in,
like
but we
to.
would love to. We'd reach out. Please reach out to us, Rootwise. We would love to have your stuff in there. We've tried to reach out to Build a Soil, to see what their interest was, but we haven't heard back from them. So
I'm sure Jeremy's. We'll get back to you at some point. Yeah.
It's all right.
I mean, the cool point is that you guys are actually doing it. It's not just like you want to.
right, we want everybody that has organic products to be in our store. That would be our choice.
And there's a bunch of. That's a cool thing too. Is there's like I know a few that we'll talk about after the show that are pretty dope. That are.
Oh, we
like-
want you to give us
like-
all the information.
Yeah.
That's why we're here, man, because you
Exactly.
have been doing this from day one with your seed company and everything. And I mean, I really, before I came to the show, I didn't realize that was your company.
Oh, right.
And I'd grown your seeds before, or your
Sorry.
plants. And so I was kind of like when Chemdog was just here, it was kind of shock and awe kind of thing for me.
Right.
Because I'm like, wow, I grew that strain. That's amazing that I just met the person that actually made that strain. It's kind of weird. It's like kind of like a kid or whatever, or
Yeah, I always
something
tell everybody,
weird.
like, all us stoners, especially our generation and our age group,
Right.
because we're exactly on point with each
Yeah,
other.
69, right?
Yeah,
June
same.
11th.
June 15th, so we're like 4 days apart. And, the reality is that a lot of us, not 100% because obviously we wouldn't get where we were, but we were all kind of stuck at around 16, 16, 17,
Yeah.
right when life was good.
Skateboards, BMX bikes.
Exactly.
And,
It was like
skunky.
and it was just straight skunk.
Yeah, and that was
Oh,
that was our like sort of, okay, this is cool. We'll stop around here, but then we had to, of course, adapt to get to the modern life as we speak. But no, it's cool to see the travels as they from both of us kind of end up in this similar spectrum.
Yeah, it's really been amazing. Like I said, when I heard
Like,
you
I got a
were
great-
born the same year, and I saw that, and then you were the same month, I was like, wow.
Yeah. It's always funny, right? Then you start comparing. You're like, how do I look? How do I look? Do I look better or worse?
I look worse.
Oh, I just
sure.
got a haircut, so I got a little advantage on you right now. I looked like
You got-
I looked so bad the other day. Like the last week, I was there like, watching the show. My hair was popping up and everything. I was like, all right, you know what? Probably a good idea to go get a haircut before this next important show. So sorry to have to do that to you.
No, I saw you look dapper when we were out in San Francisco, man.
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah,
have to
the first
dress up
time I think I've only ever seen you in like a suit.
in a suit, and it's a rare sighting.
You have the hat?
Yep, got the
Yeah,
hat.
gotta have that.
Gotta have the hat,
Shit.
the suit, the whole 9 yards. Boom. So, So you got what's the name of the shop again?
Well, it was
Green Farms Feed and Seed.
right, but it was formerly Victory Hydro
Okay.
and Louisville.
Right. So former Victory Hydro,
Changing
Louisville,
it all over.
and you guys are getting signs made and getting down and dirty. So
Yeah.
you guys literally must have just done this in the last couple weeks.
Yes, we did.
It's amazing.
We just took it over, and it's been amazing because we actually they're in a really good spot. There's a lot of home growers in that area, and they there's a lot of organic home growers in that area. So we brought
Shout
our
out Dirt Dog.
yeah, Dirt Dog. So we brought our stuff in, and also Mike Lee and them up there. So and there's a lot of guys that were really really good growers. So we brought our Buffalo product in the first day, and as we were bringing it in from the truck, people were trying to buy it. We didn't even have it into the register yet. We didn't have it even checked in at all into the computer system. We were selling it all under miscellaneous items for the first couple days. We were just selling it, they were buying it. And we have a new product that is actually probably one of our best sellers already, and it's a $9.99 soilless mix, and it's just cocoa and perlite, and it's not certified OMRI, but everything else we do is OMRI in our buildings, so we can't use anything else but OMRI through our machines. So people are going to get an OMRI product, that was used with all OMRI listed ingredients, and they're going to get a really super high-end soilless mix.
Right. That's sick. And it's great that you guys are taking on this whole thing because it was also one of the, I had fucking Buffalo on here and tried the products from the original guys there, and was like, I felt it, but it was also like I felt the disconnect as far as from the industry and being able to get other people to get it.
You gotta grow cannabis to talk to people that grow cannabis.
Exactly.
Yeah,
If I tried to sell
show
Buffalo
them
to
pictures
somebody's-
of what it
to
did.
some
That
giant
grew-
farm that wanted to like,
Exactly.
how much acre? You'd be like, I don't know, fucking making up freaking numbers off the top of your
What's
head.
a hectare?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and it wasn't that. I mean, it wasn't that they didn't understand growing because they definitely understood growing.
Absolutely.
But it was more.
Agriculture, yes, they understand agriculture. For
Yeah,
sure.
and I think it's frustrating when you come from that world into the cannabis world for sure. I can't imagine it was nothing. And I always was telling them like, yeah, I'll definitely help you. And and I got Dark Horse to try it, and it didn't like it. And it's just like the classic because everybody grows.
fair, yeah.
Everybody grows differently, and it was just like it didn't make sense. But of course, you have to take into account that you guys are willing to understand that it's like, okay, it might take this long to get it to that point, but it's worth it, which is an awesome thing.
You gotta be fair with people because.
But if you don't
it
tell
is a
somebody
piece
that,
of
they're going to be all
patience.
like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
So, have you ever? So, you guys have you used it as far as like, say, in like a 3 to 5 gallon pot just feeding it regular old food, run like that. And
You would
have it-
be, in my opinion, you would be unsuccessful with that. With a living soil system,
Yeah.
you think of it as a stomach.
Yeah.
So the larger the stomach,
Yeah.
the bigger the healthier plant.
Right.
So in a 3-gallon pot, I would almost think that you would fail.
Okay, so you
unless
can't. Yes, you can't. It has to be at least like a 15-gallon or
I
something.
would
Yeah,
say
it's gonna get
at least
anaerobic.
10.
Yeah.
I mean, but I would probably go 15.
Right.
And again, you want to buy a quality pot because you're not turning the soil over. So that
Right.
pot is going to be 3 or 4 years old as time goes by.
Sure.
And the problem that I've noticed is when I do most of this by myself. So when I'm moving these pots, especially these 25 gallons, when the handle
Hinges?
rips,
Oh, yeah.
then you got that hole right there with basically
The
the,
water
rhizosphere.
runs out.
Yeah.
and
So I'm
everything,
just saying,
try
like,
to
there's
water.
little tips and tricks. I think
Yeah.
if people really think they grow through, and then they're
And-
growing
and-
for pennies on the dollar compared to synthetics, after that year. I mean,
And we're trying to hire people.
And what about if
the
they're
store.
what about if somebody's already grown synthetic and say they have a huge operation and the only way to convert it would be to like
we have some companies that are talking to us right now. I don't know
I've
if we should
actually done that
say
before.
right now,
I've already
but-
changed. I've already
But they want to
changed
change over
over
from a full
Yeah.
synthetic grow into
Right.
because they understand like the
It's a
gentleman before that,
process.
the
That's even
concentrates are
it's
where
even a harder process because you're going to have the salts in the soil because you got to take like if they have 300 plants in 1-gallon pots, let's say, right, and you have to transplant that into a 10-gallon or a 15-gallon, let's just say.
yeah.
That pot, that 1 gallon's going to have those salts in it still. It's
Yeah.
going to have those synthetics. So if you're trying to plant it into a fully organic, bed or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
it's going to take a couple cycles for that to change over.
Right.
I honestly think you're
and-
spinning your wheels too.
Exactly.
You're just never getting to the what would they call the old growth forest is what we're after. So ways to speed that up is to go out into nature and get the mycelium that you actually see
Right,
underneath
the
an old log.
IMOs.
Yeah, exactly. So there's ways to improve on nature and speed up the process if you are growing indoors. It's just about getting that education
Right.
because
And
it
you have to-
is hard to grow until you have that full picture. Because then you're like, why would I grow with microbes? What is that? It doesn't really make sense at first.
So what he's talking about is very important, and what we do is we focus on this. If we go into a certain area, you have to go around that area, and you have to get what's called an IMO, an indigenous microorganisms, and you collect those, and then you go and you make your cultures and your teas and things with those. So that will promote what works at this altitude and
Yeah,
this
sure.
pressure and this temperatures and the cold or the hot, whatever it is.
And
so
they're
that
hardened microbes,
they're hardened and they're
right.
used to this area.
Right.
So they're able to survive, easier. And so that's what we promote. And so a lot of people, they go out and they buy, and I'm not trying to say names here, but they'll go buy something that's made in California, right? Let's say. So then they bring that back here and they put it in their stuff and they start having these issues with other things going in there and just like going crazy because it's like, whoa, we're at the beach now. I got all kinds of stuff in here I can eat that doesn't eat me back, and I'm going to go in there and do all this, and those are not the ones that you want, and that could cause some anaerobic actions and other things that in that soil when it starts making those really funky smells, and that's stuff we're not after. That's what he was saying. There's things that you don't want to feed, and there's things you want to feed, and we were trying to promote the healthy things. And that's why we're culturing them in the teas and then putting them into the soil so we can actually get that inoculated into our living
And that's
soil.
a shotgun approach that we're using when we're making the teas, right? Because you're just adding as many microbes, and the diversity again is king with that.
Right.
So
And
I think if some people maybe have lacked success with this, it's really building up the biodiversity with the different composts and getting everything that was dormant and getting that alive, and having worms, go through your
Worms
stuff changes the
And
life.
then another thing that
Changes
people,
everything.
I think the other, not even to interrupt you, but one of the other misconceptions on that level is that, hey, I can use organics and then I'm going to add in some of these synthetic, bloom boosters or whatever. That's
Fucks that-
completely.
that fucks it all up.
Oh, and it
Spins the
just
wheels.
totally kills all this
I don't think it
microbe
kills
life in there.
everything, but it spins the
It doesn't kill it all. There's some that will survive in chemical
Hmm.
environments, right?
Right.
So those things, but it does kill off a lot of things, and that's what people think that they're doing all these great things, where actually they really didn't do the great thing for your microbe life, but you did add that whatever that was. That bloom booster did get into the plant, and all of a sudden it did go crazy, and you're like, wow, I just did this great thing.
Yeah.
You didn't do it for the microbes.
Right. No, they weren't happy after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it can work on the plant still the way it would on hydro, for instance, and not but yeah, and that's the thing is people don't get, like, it's same with humans, it's all about your microbiome and feeding. I mean, it's one of those things.
Yeah, your gut. Like he was just saying, just think about like your probiotics and everything. You go to the store and eat your yogurt and eat this. Same thing with the plants. If you can give those probiotics, like with the grokashis and the bokashis, you can add that in there.
Well, the funny part
That's
is
gonna
that
be-
when you really think about it, though, most of the time, like, now I look at people differently and I say, like, oh, you see, they're giving in to the fucking bad ones, because the bad ones are the ones that want your sweets and they want, what I mean, there's all good and bad microbiome in
The
you.
good ones went. Oh, you're talking about in the body.
In your
Yeah,
human
I'm sorry.
body, I'm saying,
yeah,
and then
same
then
thing.
they're the ones that are like, oh yeah, get us that, eat some sugar, eat some sugar, eat some sugar,
Yeah.
and you're all like, oh, maybe I should have some sugar, and you're like, but then you realize later that it wasn't really what you needed, and then if you start to listen to yourself, you might get the other, like sometimes it's
Or
when
you can eat some fruits, some natural sugars.
yeah, you could have went in a
Right.
better direction for sure. And on top of that, like, like when you really want iron and all of a sudden you're just like, fuck, I need iron. I mean, your body will tell you, obviously. And if you don't recognize that even, which is a lot of people because they fucked up their whole microbiome, now they don't even know what they like. You know? So it's kind of similar to plants in a sense, but I mean, plants obviously, it's not as easy
Adding
as...
kefir to my plants is what made me start taking kefir every morning.
Yeah.
Is top dressing with that, and then I'll just leave it at that. Top dress with that when you have a living soil that's been going a little bit,
Right.
and then please call the show and let Adam know what happened.
And then you drank, and then but that got you going.
And that's lactose free too, so I mean it's very easy for the plant to take up. I know Kyle Cushman. We could talk a little bit about that, where he's talking about how like the dairy and that kind of stuff and the heavier stuff, he likes to keep it real light. Are you familiar with all that? Oh, all right, never mind.
But the kefir doesn't cause any kind of problem later on.
That's what I was saying. If you have an established soil,
Yeah, it's
and
ready.
that's
It's like-
really
it's-
the
it's
difference.
really active and
It's
it's
got to
ready.
be alive and thriving for
Yeah.
that to work. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're just dumping yogurt on your fancy yogurt on your shit.
Do not do it on your
Yeah.
don't do it on your
But you can also do that. A little bit of kefir and then like some
Price per ounce
fungal-
just went up. You got to your charge.
some rolled
Charging
oats,
more, yeah.
organic rolled oats that would feed the fungal aspect.
Well, the thing I
Build
love is
that
when
up.
you're getting to that zone where like everything that you're feeding the plants, you like actually eat yourself. Then you're
Yeah.
fucking. Then you're at like that perfect fucking ability to assimilate every single thing that thing does because you are too. So
And cannabis
see it
and
for
hemp,
yourself.
they absorb those kinds of things really well. So the things that you put into your soil, we even, some of the flavors, we use different types of sugars, like some date palm, some, coconut sugars, some different.
Beet sugars.
Yeah, beet sugars.
Yeah.
Things that are different than just cane sugar, and we get some different flavors. And people say, "How did you get that? How does it taste so weird?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know it's sugar. I think that's what it does."
It's the microbes that are breaking that down.
yeah, you're feeding the microbes. At that
Feeding the
point.
microbes again.
Exactly. And so at this point, it's good because now we're talking about plants. We're not talking about you.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, yeah.
but the problem with
That's
us
why I
is,
was-
the problem with us is that the sugars that we're taking in are usually
We're feeding the yeast,
processed
which
and
is
they're
the
made in the
beast.
lab.
Yeah, exactly. You feed the yeast and then cancer and. et
I
cetera,
feel
et
that comes out at night too, right? Like
Oh,
you want
yeah.
some Skittles late at night for some reason. Or
Well,
something.
weed helps on that department, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because I got like a 1 o'clock guaranteed, like ringing my bell. It's like I could.
It's hard.
I could not even want it earlier, and then
Yeah.
at exactly 1 o'clock, if I get to that level, I'm like, oh, that's it. It's time to eat snacks, and I'll usually give in. I'm terrible. I'm terrible. So,
I'm the worst.
yeah, no, well, I don't know about that. That's a mighty hard one to fucking crown.
My wife thinks I'm the worst
Yeah.
by far.
Good. Well, at least you're consistent, right? That's how I look at it. Like I'm like the day I don't, I'm like, oh shit, what's going on? So we're gonna have you guys on the show a lot more in the future. We talked about this earlier.
Thanks, man.
And yeah, we definitely want to. This is great because
So we want you to come to the store or something, and not
Well,
not
I've got-
to the rec store or whatever, but to our grow store,
Uh-huh.
and have maybe even like to help us teach a class about breeding or genetics and stuff like that, so
Sure.
we can kind of teach people about when they pop seeds like that. I heard him talking about earlier about just throwing away the males at some point. I take all the males from everybody, all my friends, and bring them to my house, and I get the pollen, right? And
Yeah.
they don't understand that, and I just laugh when I tell them I want the male.
Right.
And so, but we'd love for people to understand that you could pop 10 seeds. You want to try to find the best genetics out of those. You don't want to just pop 10 seeds to have the seeds. You really look, you could, I mean, you might find the holy grail. You could find one that has 36% THC and 20% CBDs or, whatever, some crazy numbers. But I'm saying it could happen, There's going to be that person that does it, and it's the same person that finds the Chemdog and the Gorilla Glue and the, the cookies. Those are the guys that found those were the ones that were looking for something special.
Yeah, no, it all comes.
What am I saying?
It all comes from the seed. It all comes from the seeds, and we know that. And the cool part about it is what it's every time you roll the dice. It's like Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Oh, Dungeons and Dragons.
It's like you can never get those combinations again. Like you throw, I just threw like 20 side and fucking this, and like by the time you get all those combinations and write them all down, you couldn't barely ever get that again. You know what I mean? Because you created such a fucking mishmash between it. And with seeds, it's sort of the same thing because you're just like, we're talking about a lot of polyhybrids, weird fucking back crosses and S1s, and just there's some funk out there that's just definitely not been bred at all. And then there's a few things that have been bred, and then at the end of the day, probably the ones you'll find the winners will be in the fuck ups. You know what I mean? Because things.
Yeah, the ones people throw away, the runts
from a long time
the
ago,
runts that people throw away. That's the one.
Oh yeah, like a lot of runts. Well, the thing that's funny too is now, at least with terpenes and people being able to test that, and like you might get a runt that has just this incredible terpene profile or something. Like, holy shit, this thing's 12%, whatever. And then you're like, okay, it's worth it. Right. We'll grow it. Whereas for the most part, you usually lost it. But I had like the same with it. The Sage was the runt of the batch that we ended up with because it just was the only thing that smelled that unique in the whole batch, and it was like sitting
that
on
thing
the.
is amazing.
And it sat in the worst spot.
I had the best one I'd ever. One of the best plants I ever had.
Today, before you even knew we were coming here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just like one of those plants that it was just so unique that we kept kind of going back to it. We gave it a second chance, and then it was like, oh, okay, actually it grows pretty good once you get in a good spot. It was just in a shitty spot, It was like shitty spot, runt, probably, And some things take a couple rounds to make sense.
Do you feel like you've built up a trained eye for those males, like when you kind of like scan? When you scan
males are tricky in the sense of like you just gotta try them. There's no other way to know, and you'll be pleasantly surprised a lot of times as long as it's a very good it has the right because the whole thing is letting the plant flower long enough that you can actually see the structure of the plant properly, because a lot of people are fucked because they get seeded, then they freak out, take the male out, don't ever even regrow it, never even saw the structure to begin with.
Take a clone of it. That was what I was. That's what I started doing.
If that's the case, then
like,
you're kind of shooting in the dark at that point. I mean, you hope it was a good one, but and then if you do keep a male around and you start crossing it with different things, then you see patterns real fast. You're like, okay, well, this thing produces big, fluffy fucking buds, but they don't ever seem to get dense or whatever it does. You can throw away shit based on that, and that's the goal, is to put like, instead of putting one male to one female and then checking those things out, you get 10 males and you hit 10 different females and you of the same plants, clones, and then you fucking check all those against each other, because it's just way harder to get the carry. Because the thing about males too is that it mostly carries the terp profile too, so you don't really. That's a lot of fucking. You're putting a lot into that plant. It's not always. I mean, there's some plants you'll get a bit more, but really noticeably, if you got a good male, it usually just dominates on that factor and passes that along.
So when you have the male, when do you find the traits from like the mom and the dad of that? Like, how do you see that come out? I mean,
you can reverse it is one thing you can do right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate.
Just have cuts of it. Take one of your cuts, reverse the cut, and see if it even has anything unique that to you gets you going, because you'll see it in you'll see a little female form of it or whatever, and that's not 100% because it's not great, but you can kind of go like, oh, like, no. When you get those crazy ones that have like zero resin and fucking,
right.
You just did, and because it does pass.
Stepchild.
Yeah, and it sucks with so with males it's really like if you make too many seeds and pass them out, you fucking ruin a lot of people's day. So you really want to test everything that you put out, and that's the pain in the ass slow process of breeding in general, just as far as commercially goes. Because you got to grow every cycle out and look at, if you're going for goal, which not many people are going for goal either these days.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're trying to get to an F4, F5, have a stable plan, make it something really good, there's a whole bunch of garbage along the way that you got to deal with. You know what I mean?
And then you're talking about just the back crossing that you have to do there. If that's
Well, that
what
would
you're
just be
saying?
if you wanted to create a stable line, you know. But back crossing is one of those things where it does work to a point, but it also amplifies certain problems sometimes.
So is that like the Herman? Like if it's has the Hermy tendencies, does that cause that to,
I mean,
compound or something?
It can't, I mean, Hermy, anything Hermy, you kind of want to throw out of your fucking mix anyway if possible.
Right.
But then again,
you got those hazes though that have the tendency that you
throw a
want to
nano or
keep.
two. That throw a nano or two. Yeah, well, anything equatorial is probably.
Oh, that was what we were talking about that
They're
earlier.
notoriously hermaphroditic, no
Right.
matter what. Just because they're on that 11-13 schedule so much,
Yeah.
and then you take them away from that, and then they get
What were you talking about that plant? You were saying that was a female, that was one branch was a male?
Oh, Chemdogs, yeah, it happens sometimes.
That happens with just that line? Because I've never heard.
Yeah, I've seen it happen. And
I didn't know
think
that.
and he didn't say no, so I guess he's
You know what? I had the same thing. I didn't want to say it, but
one branch.
And you know what?
It's
Was
like-
yours on the very bottom node of that branch,
Low-
like way low underneath everything?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't see it. I couldn't find it. And
But
then
is
when
it-
finally we were like, we took this one branch
Just the
because we saw
branch.
this weird stuff on the
Yeah.
buds at the top, and we saw it didn't look right. And then
Yeah.
we went down at the bottom and we found the sacks at the
it's
very
w-
bottom.
And it's weird
It's
because
really weird.
It's weird because it
On
doesn't.
one branch.
Exactly, one branch, and it doesn't do it all
And
the
it's
time.
on the low,
And it
low
wasn't
end.
all the time. It was only on this one seed.
did
Yeah,
not
one
know
seed
that.
that we bought.
Wow.
So yeah, there's some
There's a tip, yeah.
some bizarre tendencies there. Yeah, because I mean the thing about hermaphroditism is there's so many different types. You got like the full blown ones that are just like, well, fuck that.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like,
they're
there's, and then you get the ones that are sneaky and they kind of come up underneath, and those are the ones that are like. That's the ones that probably cause the most damage because
You never find them.
you don't find them. They seed shit. People take those. They take it for granted that it's what it is, and in a way, they're close enough because it's S1 and it's kind of like it's 80 some whatever percent. You know what I mean? It's like it's close enough that you're like, okay, if I dialed it in, but the hermaphroditic traits are very high. You know, so it's yeah.
It's
I
a
don't-
gamble. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like Soma fucked me up one time. He gave me a tray of clones, and then there was like this rock bud he had, and it was all hermed out, and it fucking like, but it was exactly the sneaky ones, and they didn't grow very tall. So the plants only grew about knee high, and the lowest node was the one. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I was like, you're gonna have to crawl on the ground and fucking find it.
Right.
And then when we because I was like, it was called rock bud, so it was like, man, these things are really hard. And then all of a sudden, I was like, oh shit, they're all fucking fully seeded hard. No wonder they're so hard because they started popping out. You're like, oh yeah, now I know it.
A 14-gram little nug.
It was like, okay, well, and the seeds sucked too, which really like because they
Yeah,
were cracked. They
I'm
were
sure.
the ones that kind of cracked
Just
every single
crushed.
seed. Just no cracked. Every single one of them like was split open before it would even dry. Like they were already like weird. It was a nightmare. Part of the learning curve there. I was like, Soma, thanks a lot for that. Oh wow, man, I've been making it. He was like, he threw down the old. Oh, how'd you make it do that? I was like, what do you mean? Like,
How did you make it do that?
exactly. I was like,
What magician move did you pull there, bud?
I've been trying to make it do
That's
that.
a good answer for a lot of things. in
He
the
said, I've been
cannabis
trying to
industry.
make it do that for years, man. And I was like, well, lo and behold, I had the trick.
You had the magic.
Had the magic trick there. So what's the best websites to catch up with you guys? Because we'll probably wrap her up so my
Okay.
kids won't go nuts and stuff.
So we buffaloam.com is the website.
I mean, and then the new one's going to be the green, what is it?
We'll have the Green Farms Feed and Seed. And we'll have that one, and then we have the Green Farms Co.
How big is
co.
this? You guys got a big lot or anything like that? Or what's your setup like there? How's your car lot?
How's our car lot?
Yeah,
It's a
down
big,
in the
it's a
Springs.
King Supers.
Yeah.
It's a huge.
Oh, you're in a
it's a huge shopping center.
Oh, you're inside a shop. Okay, no. It would be cool if you were standalone though, because I was gonna say.
Oh yeah, I
would
wish
be
we
nice.
want to get it to a place where we can have a full
Because then we
standalone.
could just go nuts. Because you can't really just. How you gonna be blazing there?
Well, our goal is if we are allowed to get the spaces
We're gonna
next
try
to
to
it,
have
we
a-
would love to have more like education. We could even have.
Yeah, well, cool. You should definitely. What is it again?
It's in
Victory-
Boulder.
It was called Victory Hydro in Louisville.
And Louisville. So yeah.
Is it Boulder County? Is it Boulder County
Boulder?
or
I mean, is it-
Lafayette or?
It'd probably take you like 40 minutes from here. I think.
Oh yeah, I know exactly. I know the area. I'm just wondering like who's in
Oh, it's not
charge. 'Cause
Boulder County
Boulder's
out there.
tough. You don't even Boulder. You don't want to try to do a weed kind of two weed.
Oh,
friendly.
you know way more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're all about Boulder.
Well, our stuff's more in the.
Well, yeah,
you
no,
know-
it's one of those places where it's the most regged out spot
exactly.
in a fucking state. So like, if like that's what Nick and Allison
Yeah.
went nuts about. They were like, dude, you know how hard it is to do shit here. It's like anything you can do anywhere else, you can't do there. You know what I mean? So it's one of those deals.
It's like Colorado Springs is the same way. It's really tough there.
But I mean,
They have very strict.
yeah, grow shops. It's funny though. I went and saw Chip the other day, Baker. You know.
Oh, Chip.
And went to his
Cultivate. We love Cultivate.
and went to his
Please
shop.
get all our stuff in there, please.
Went to his shop, and he had like a little sesh going on over there, and I was like, oh, cool. Here's somebody who's at least, you know,
Trying to have a little
trying to like,
promo, yeah.
because at the same time when you're a grow shop, you're not held to the same fucking, you know,
Right, you don't have all the laws.
Yeah, so in a way, and like, you know, do you remember you remember Grove City and all that stuff that was here before? That was like the one that's off of 38th there, to the right.
You remember that?
The 24-hour one. You remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, 24-hour one?
Yeah, I remember
Okay.
Yeah.
20. That's what I was
That
telling
one-
him the other day. I was like,
Guys are coming-
when do growers shop? I'm like, I was going to the 24-hour one shopping in the middle of the night. I didn't want to
And you're
drive down the road.
then all the tweakers would be in there trying to sell some stolen
Yeah,
shit.
that's
And
what
stuff
I'm
like that. That's what it was a little bit. It was a little bit of a shady idea, and you know, it was like when I first came to Colorado, I had the same thing. I was like, man, somebody should just open up a used shop. But then you realize that's all you're going to end up with is criminals and tweakers and people desperate.
Stole it from their roommate.
Partner, yeah, exactly. Like, fuck you, take all the shit. Yeah, it's like, so I was like, eh. And apparently, you get checked a lot by the cops at those spots. Like they would
Yeah,
come
it's like
through.
a pawn shop, I guess, right?
Same exact rules as a pawn shop, exactly, because you're bringing in all this used stuff, and you got to like write down every fucking serial number of every item. And that place was a mess because there was stuff in that place from every disaster that ever went down. Like you walked around, it was like a museum of
I
just.
think you could get bugs there.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
pretty
what I was
easy.
saying. Buying used equipment is probably, especially from usually people that have failed to
Yeah, no, this was literally like.
Well, I failed because they were covered with spider webs. I had an infestation of
The
spiders.
funny part about that shop though is I would walk around just for fun and look at all the shit, and I'd be like, what? Like it was like shit taped together and trying to like design like I'm gonna make a CO2 unit out of 5 cans and some tubes and some baking soda. You know, there's just like failed experiment number 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it was like crazy cloners every time I went in there. Like somebody made a homemade. There's like 15 homemade cloners, you know, and they were all just
the Rubbermaids that
like
fall apart,
Rubbermaids,
totally
and you're
fall
like,
apart.
who is gonna buy? Like you're all pythiumed out, you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. And so it was like disaster. Then you see the next thing, and you'd be like, what? And they even had one of those rotator deals that was like a disaster. You remember those things?
Oh yes.
The fucking Ferris wheel of weed. You're like, no.
What was it? Remember the one like the Megatron, or what was that one that you bought in the back of the?
Was it? Oh, Phototron. Yeah.
Phototron,
No, I had one.
Megatron.
I had a Phototron, so I've already been through. I've told this story plenty of times, but yeah, I had this, that was my initiation into growing realistically, because I only thing I'd grown before that was once I looked out my window, and because I was laying there on my bed and I was really high, and I was like, I've thrown a fuckload of seeds out the window. I wonder if there's a plant growing out there. And I looked out and I was like, dude, there's 3. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I went downstairs and I was all proud. But then there were 2 males, and I think the other one got trashed. So I was like, didn't actually do anything to fruition. But at that moment, I told my mom I'm going to get a Phototron. So I got one and my friend got one. Put him downstairs. Got him to the point where I'd been cutting them back because it keeps telling you to cut back. That was his whole thing. It was about cutting them, and making them like
pruning.
And you couldn't fit the amount of plants because he said put 6 in there, and I put fucking 6, and I was like, fuck that. And I took out 4 of them and had 2 at the end because I was barely fit those in there. And then right when I was I think I just flipped them, and they just started to show a couple hairs, and things were starting to happen, and I was like, oh, this is great, this is cool. And then my mom woke me up one morning, and she was like, Adam, your plants are on fire. Adam. And I'm like, what? She's like, your plants are on fire. And I was like, my plants are on fire. And I was like, holy fire. And I went down, and then her friend who was sleeping on the couch was like, had a hose, and he was putting it out. And I was like, what is going on? And they just fucking melted down. They weren't really on fire. There was no flames, but they had melted to a big blob because they were the most unsafe, designed, stupid thing ever. And so it was one of those like, major learning curves. I was like, well, could have burned down the entire place pretty much, but there was like smoke coming off of them, and he had put it out, unplugged them. They melted together into a big blob. And I ended up getting 2 new ones that I sold with my snowboard to somebody in 1987. I'm like, I'm out of here. Take my Phototrons and my snowboard. And the guy never grew anything in it. I know that for sure. So they're pretty much, when you get it, it's literally like when you're, back in the day when you ever ordered anything on, there was no online, when you ever ordered things from the back of a magazine, it took forever, right? It was like never like now where it's fucking, yo, dude, it's been 10 days, what the fuck? And like, then it was like months went by. All of a sudden this box shows up and you're like, what's that? You know what I mean? And it's like, that cannot be the thing that I ordered. It's so small. The box is like tiny. The guy's like, I'm like, what? Wait a minute. What happened? And it kind of, the way they packed it was pretty smart. So, but you had to build it, so that there was panels and by the time you built it, it was not tiny, but it was pretty tiny. By today's standards, it was tiny, right? Mm-hmm. But it was funny because it was just one of those things where it was like, I was one of the very first thing was brand, like maybe the second year, third year they sold them, the guy would still answer the phone, the owner, hey, what's going on?
Didn't you have to like get it out of the back of some kind of girly magazine or something?
No, it was High Times. It was High Times.
Okay.
Yeah, no, High Times. High Times, and it was this killer picture. It was like all whoosh, misty.
Did they give you anxiety when it was like a few days before it was supposed to get there, kind of thing?
Oh, days, dude.
Like,
months went by. That was the problem. Me and my friend ordered them, and it took months, and I was a kid, so I was like every day running down. Phototron. Yeah. And it was funny because the whole idea was every time you cut them, like you would keep those and dry those and smoke it, and it was like a little tiny fucking
little headache.
I'd be like, yes, great. And then my friend ordered some seeds from the seed bank, and he fucking didn't tell any of us, and he all of a sudden he had this Afghan that fucking crushed, and I was like, what? he's like, yeah, I got it off some old lady. It was like a total bullshit story, and now he owns like one of the biggest grow shops in Rhode Island, so it's kind of funny. I was like, well, at least, he was on the right path. But he basically ordered them from Neville, was being all super, secret squirrel about it, and was like, yeah, I got it off this old lady or something, and it was just like so fresh and awesome.
It's a terrible lie.
It was like, wow, this is fucking amazing. So that kind of caught my.
Hey, so what about your friend Maz or Maz or what was
Mario? Yeah,
Mario. That was right.
Yeah. He's now with Nanolux. Actually, just landed a job with them. So he is. He was out in Utah, checking out the. It's funny to go to Utah. Anything growing in Utah, you're already like paranoid, right?
Utah is a unique place.
But he's putting together with this other. He's working with these other guys who are doing some distribution. So we'll have some crossover things happening for sure there, because I think the main focus is sustainable, organic, large-scale growing is kind of like the goal, Yeah. Obviously, they'll probably sell everything they can sell, but at the end of the day, yeah, we'll definitely link up. He was thinking about coming through this time, but apparently,
people are busy,
People are busy. Well, would have been extra busy. It was a busy show. So we're on the wind down right now. Anyway, I can already feel the restlessness. I can hear that. Soon it'll be the Papa.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They can only stay. I can only banish the family to the roof for so long. Right? You're banished.
You cannot come down.
Do not come down.
So was JJ supposed to come today for Top Dog?
No, it's Chemdog.
Oh, Chemdog was.
That's
okay.
why you were saying.
Oh, that was what I was confused about. I kept saying JJ from Top Dog is here.
Well, we actually had that confusion settled on one of the original shows that we had Chem on. Well, the original show we had him on a long time ago, about 6 years ago, and it was because JJ is DAWG, right? So he's dog, and Chemdog is DOG, and so that's what everybody got. Like a lot of people would still call it Chemdog with DAWG. So then already that it's somewhere off the path. You know what I mean? It's sus. At that point, it's suspect. You're like, all right, you don't know the inner code. But it was just funny because with G, it was like,
well, we're from Georgia. We spell our dogs DAWG.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Well, there you go. So you were ahead of the curve on that one. But JJ definitely kind of used that one. He used that one so that he would not get confused with.
Right.
Back in
Because
the day.
everybody had respect, I guess.
Yeah, back in the day. Well, that was just I was like, okay, this is my version of that, which is cool. So that made it, and that. But it's also good because now you can actually track it a little bit and see where the inroads were made. Were made with that part of the family. Chemdog family. It's another dog pound. Last week we had the fucking dog pound crew guys, and this week we have the dog. Nothing but dogs on the Adam Dunn show. So all right, we're gonna wrap it up.
All right.
Catch you guys on
Thank
the flip
you so
side.
much
It was
again.
awesome having you guys here, and we're gonna we already talked about. We'll have you a whole bunch, and let's get you
And
guys
we wanna
down to
get
let's get
we
you down to
need
my mom's
sign
farm, and you can
something
take a
for
look. And
sponsor. We
Yeah.
want to be a
Oh, yeah.
sponsor.
I will make
so
sure.
we need to get something where we
Papers.
can give you stuff and we
Pen,
can do whatever you want.
Pen, paper, yes. I'll walk you to the ATM with it, and we'll be like, "Give me the
Give me
money, give me the money." So, all right, thanks, guys. See you next week. And if you missed the show, well, now it's online, so we don't have to worry about even having to rebroadcast it because not like the live show didn't happen. It happened. If you were here and you were live, lucky you. If not, listen to it again. See you guys next week. Peace.
Thanks.
Oh, and now my beautiful wife Cece can come downstairs with my child.
On every radio station in the United States is a communication to the children to take a trip, to cop out, to groove. The psychedelic jackets on the record albums have their own hidden symbols and messages.
A special question. We don't want you to smoke genetically modified ganja. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensimedia, some call it lamb's bread, and some people call it